Chapter 1180. It was raining in spring. The whole of City G was wet, which made people feel inexplicably irritated. It was the same for Di Wuliang. Although they had caught the legendary immortal evil Buddha, Imperial Concubine Zhou, it was a difficult task to escort her. As everyone knew, Imperial Concubine Zhou was Li Fan's mistress. No one knew what was wrong with the most powerful person in the martial arts world back then. She actually fell in love with Li Fan. Li Fan, too, must have been so lucky in his previous life. It rained all night. When they got up the next day, the visibility in City G was not very good. The rain made it a little misty. The whole City G was like a fairyland, hazy. Di Wuliang wore a white suit, and this time, he also wore a red tie. On his chest, there was a vehicle-level badge. Because of the merit of catching Imperial Concubine Zhou, Di Wuliang made an exception and was promoted. It was also very dangerous to catch Imperial Concubine Zhou. Almost all of Di Wuliang's men died, so Imperial Concubine Zhou was led into the trap. It was still thanks to Song Fuya's poison. If it hadn't weakened Imperial Concubine Zhou, even if there were 10 times more people, they might not have been able to do anything to this woman. This woman was really powerful. Di Wuliang saw with his own eyes that she sucked several of his men dry and threw them aside. This terrible way of dying almost destroyed the fighting spirit of all the Imperial Guards. If it hadn't been for Song Fuya's poison and the participation of the 4 senior cadres, perhaps Di Wuliang would have been reduced to the same way. Luck was still on his side. Di Wuliang comforted himself with a few words, and then he took everyone on the road. Imperial Concubine Zhou was tied up with special chains all over her body, and she was escorted in a bulletproof military car. There were 3 SUVs in front and behind her, and the motorcade went all the way in the direction of the Sima family. In addition to Di Wuliang's men, the 4 senior cadres each sat in an SUV in case of emergency. Drive the car faster. Feng Xiao, the senior cadre sitting behind Di Wuliang, crossed his arms and urged expressionlessly. He was also wearing a white suit, but he had a golden tie on. This was the characteristic of the cadre of the Royal Army. Those in black suits were just ordinary officers. When they changed into white suits, they would step into the ranks of the cadre. A cannon rank could not wear a necktie, a red necktie was a vehicle rank, and a golden necktie was a horse rank. Further up, the black tie was the phase level. When they reached the soldier level, they would wear a conspicuous red suit with a black tie. Di Wuliang had never seen the legendary general level before, nor did he know what they looked like. To them, the general rank was very mysterious. It was said that Murong Bo and Murong Ying's strength could be considered to be at the general level. However, the 2 members of the Murong family were outside the system of the Imperial Army. They never wore suits, nor did they have official titles. Now, the entire Imperial Army was in the hands of the Sima family, Sima Yao. The higher the rank, the higher the authority, and the more arrogant a person would be. This Feng Xiao was the same. Because of his strength, he was extremely arrogant. This guy was wearing the same white suit as him, but he had a golden tie with a pure gold tie clip. Zhai Wuxian was really envious of him. After he eliminated Li Fan's forces, he would probably be able to climb to this position and change into a golden tie. No, maybe even higher. Or he could change into a black tie, step on Feng Xiao, and let him act cool in front of him. Master Feng, the fog is heavy on the road. For safety's sake, we can't drive too fast. Di Wuliang forced a smile and explained to Feng Xiao. A bunch of trash. Isn't it just a bit of fog? If you can't even overcome this, how can you cooperate with our operation? Feng Xiao said disdainfully. Even if we have to risk our lives, we have to hurry to Master Sima's house. You guys are just small fries. If you die, so be it. Di Wuliang was furious. Although the 2 of them seemed to have the same values, he was still unhappy that he was treated as cannon fodder. Don't be too complacent. Sooner or later, I will climb over your head. Hurry up and give the order. Feng Xiao scolded. Di Wuliang had no choice but to order his subordinates through the walkie-talkie. Full speed ahead. When the superior gave the order, even if the subordinates were unwilling, they had to obey. The few cars began to accelerate, passing through the rain and fog, moving forward at high speed. All the cars had their fog lights on. On this rainy and foggy highway, they were like staring monsters, rushing toward their target. Di Wuliang had a bad feeling. He opened the glove compartment and took out a bottle of spray. This was the poison that Song Fuya left for him. Once released, it would damage the nerves of the poisoned person and temporarily lose their five senses. Imperial concubine Zhou was hit by this trick, but she still killed more than 10 royal guards in this state. It was really scary. Are you afraid? Feng Xiao, who was sitting in the back, seemed to feel Di Wuliang's fear. In the end, you're just a newly promoted cannon fodder. He sneered. Such a coward. How can you fight for the royal guards? Sorry, master. Although he was cursing in his heart, Di Wuliang still apologized sincerely. With me here, who dares to act rashly? Master's mighty. What else could Di Wuliang say? He could only hold the poison that Song Fuya gave him. Cousin, this time I need to rely on your help again. Di Wuliang silently said a few words and continued to let his subordinates drive forward. Report, there's someone in front. The voice of his subordinate came to his ears. Di Wuliang looked ahead. In the thick fog, there was a figure standing there, but he couldn't see the figure clearly. This rain and fog seemed to cover him with a layer of mysterious aura. Di Wuliang's heart shivered. So they really came? Who could it be? Was it Li Fan? Or someone else? If they wanted to save Imperial concubine Zhou, it must be Li Fan's group. It couldn't be wrong. Feng Xiao finally opened his eyes, and there seemed to be a smile hanging on the corner of his mouth. You're finally willing to show up. It's just right. I'll use Li Fan's head as my contribution. Stop the car. Di Wuliang gave the order. He didn't expect to kill a martial artist with a car. These cars stopped one after another, and more than a dozen men in black suits jumped off. And on the military car that imprisoned Imperial concubine Zhou, a man in black suit climbed up and grabbed the machine gun on top of the car, aiming at the figure in front. The raindrops fell on the cold barrel of the machine gun, bringing the smell of death. Shoot! Di Wuliang first used the machine gun to shoot a round. Bang, bang, bang. The gun barrel vibrated, and the crimson flames spurted out, dispersing the surrounding rain and fog. The bullet was like the invitation of the god of death, tearing through the air and shooting at the figure in front. This heavy shot caused the ground to tremble. The figure in front still stood there, unmoved. Chapter 1181. The bullets landed on the figure's body, but it was as if they had hit steel. Only golden sparks were produced, and the figure was still standing there, unscathed. The tinkling sound, combined with the sparks, played a strange concerto. The clouds seemed to be afraid, and were slowly dispersing. The figure also slowly became clear. As expected, it was Li Fan. He stood in front of the road, blocking their way. Li Fan, what are you trying to do? Di Wuliang stood in the rain, looking at Li Fan, who was standing in front of him. Truth be told, when he saw Li Fan, he still felt a little uneasy. The current little tyrant was different from the past. According to the past information, little tyrant Li Fan was impulsive and warlike. Although his martial arts were strong, his weakness was very obvious. However, the current Li Fan was unfathomable, and it was hard to find his weakness. He stood there, wearing a white tracksuit. He hugged his arms, and bullet casings were scattered around him. You dare to block my royal army? Do you want to make us your enemy? Oh, Li Fan smiled, and that smile made Di Wuliang's heart skip a beat. Interesting. Li Fan pointed at the military vehicle where Imperial concubine Zhou was being held. You guys took my people, and now you're blaming me? A mere royal army is going too far. Do you really think that there's no one in my 7 heroes sect? As he spoke, Li Fan waved his sleeves, and elemental energy surged, rushing in all directions. The surrounding rain and fog were all dispersed, and the rain that filled the sky seemed to have stopped for 2 seconds. As for the surrounding royal army in black suits, they were all pushed back by this elemental energy and fell into the mud, looking extremely battered. Li Fan, right? How arrogant. Feng Xiao and the other 3 horse rank officers slowly came down from the vehicle. Among them, Feng Xiao's strength seemed to be higher, and the other three also listened to his orders. After he came out, the rain fell again, but when it was near him, they all avoided him. It could be seen how powerful his elemental energy was. Li Fan also took a few more glances at him. Feng Xiao's eyes shone, his temples bulged, and his voice was like a large bell. It was obvious that his inner force was strong. With the dragon ship's authorization and enhancement, these former martial artists seemed to have become even stronger. Li Fan glanced at the badge on his chest. It was a galloping steed. It's not arrogance, it's just that you guys are too arrogant. Li Fan was still standing in the rain with his arms crossed. His voice sounded calm, but there was a hidden thunder of anger. I'll give you 5 minutes to release Imperial Consort Zhou. Otherwise, you will be killed without mercy. How arrogant! Feng Xiao sneered. Li Fan, do you still think that you're the little overlord of the pugilistic world? You're just a little bastard now. Look, it's the new martial arts world now. The dragon ship has replaced the traditional Dantian. We are all new martial artists. You people are already behind times. Is that so? Li Fan stretched out his hand. The surrounding rainwater was attracted by his yuan qi and gathered in the palm of his hand, slowly forming the shape of a sword. This sword slightly fluctuated, and the water ripples were clear. Through the sword, one could see Li Fan's enlarged palm print. Such an ability, Di Wuliang was secretly shocked. He casually squeezed the surrounding rainwater into a sword. This yuan qi, was it really that powerful? Then I want to see how strong you new martial artists are. As Li Fan spoke, the water sword above his palm suddenly shot out like a bullet, instantly piercing through the bodies of more than 10 royal guards. The water sword was extremely sharp, and its aim was precise. It pierced through the throats of every single member of the royal guards, tearing apart their necks and leaving behind a huge bloody hole. In the blink of an eye, half of the royal guards who were escorting were dead, and Li Fan's water sword also dispersed. He stood there, using yuan qi again, slowly condensing a new water sword. Di Wuliang's legs were a little weak. He held onto the car door beside him and barely stabilized his body. Looking at the rippling water sword, under the illumination of the car lights, it seemed to be emitting a terrifying beauty. Di Wuliang's breathing was rapid, his heart was beating fast, and he did not know what to do. Why is he stronger than the information? Even if I have advanced a level, it seems like I'm still not his opponent. Insignificant skill, not worth mentioning. Feng Xiao did not care. He took out a metal box from the trunk of the car. This box was 3 feet long, riveted, and seemed to contain something valuable. The other horse-level officers also took out metal boxes from their respective trunks. Each of their boxes were different in size, but they were all sealed, as if hiding some terrifying energy. Li Fan did not stand on ceremony and flicked out the water sword. Feng Xiao had already opened the password lock, and with one palm, he opened the box, took out a 3 feet long bronze mace, held it in his hand, and directly slashed at the incoming water sword. Pooh! The water sword made by Li Fan, using his primordial qi, was smashed by his bronze mace just like that. The splashing water made Di Wuliang, who was watching from the side, excited. This is a Chinese divine weapon. The so-called Chinese divine weapon is the ultimate weapon created by the government through the analysis of martial artists. Chinese divine weapons contain the energy of true qi. Previously, those martial artists were given the qi-dispersing pill in batches, but the energy was conserved, and when it was released, the government used a special machine to absorb it. After that, the true qi was compressed according to the energy unit of the martial arts world, and the power of 10 dragons was compressed to create a Chinese divine weapon. In other words, a Chinese divine weapon is equivalent to a master of the generation. The true qi of the entire martial arts world has created many Chinese divine weapons. But these Chinese divine weapons are only given to horse-level officers and above. A small car-level officer like me is not qualified to have one. This Chinese divine weapon is indeed powerful. It only took one strike to break Li Fan's water sword. What little tyrant, just so-so. The horse-level officer Feng Xiao laughed. His eyes flashed, and his attitude towards Li Fan became even more contemptuous. I said, "You are already eliminated." Feng Xiao waved his hand. "There is no need to use a butcher knife to kill a chicken. I am too lazy to do it. Han Feng, go and bring his head to me." A horse-level cadre next to him held a crescent moon sword in his hand and rushed toward Li Fan. The suits that these royal guards are wearing are all made of special materials. Even when they move, they will not be restricted. As for the horse-level officer Han Feng, he has a horse face. He brandishes the large blade, slashes the curtain of rain in front of him, and directly rushes in front of Li Fan. He holds the large blade in his hand and brandishes it, creating an air-splitting sound as it sweeps towards Li Fan. Although Li Fan does not know what this Chinese divine weapon is, he can feel that it contains a powerful force. Li Fan frowns, quickly thinking of a countermeasure. Chapter 1182. The flying lion goddess popped out from behind Li Fan. The enormous flying lion goddess raised her shield, knocked away the rain, and blocked in front of Li Fan. Clang! The flying lion goddess shield flashed with dazzling sparks, and the shield was actually knocked back. This horse rank officer, Han Feng, was actually able to cause Li Fan's expression to change by relying on a Chinese godly weapon. Martial god true body? It's useless. Feng Xiao mocked. This is already an outdated thing. It is unable to contend against the powerful martial power of our royal army. We have the dragon ship and Chinese godly weapon. Regardless of which one, it is enough to crush your martial god true body. Not only because the Chinese godly weapon could contend against a grandmaster. After exchanging blows with the Chinese godly weapon, Li Fan felt that the weapon seemed to have a restraining energy. Although he was using energy, a portion of it was born from energy, so he was more or less affected. Do you understand the difference between us? Feng Xiao arrogantly looked at Li Fan. If you understand, then obediently accept your death. Fool! Li Fan stood in the rain, facing Han Feng, who was just inches away, but he did not have the slightest change in expression. The power of the martial god true body is not something you can understand. With that, Li Fan pointed at Han Feng in front of him. Dragon spitting pearl. The flying lion goddess put down her shield and opened her left hand. A ball of golden energy condensed in her palm. Seven Heroes Fist? Feng Xiao was puzzled. Didn't you say that your Seven Heroes Fist has been crippled? I've been training it well recently, so I've trained it back. Sorry. While Li Fan was speaking, the flying lion goddess had already thrown out the energy ball. It landed on Han Feng's body and sent him flying. He crashed into the mud at the side, looking very pathetic. Seven Heroes Fist was created by me. How could that old bastard Murong dare to take it? The unruly little tyrant pointed at Feng Xiao. I will use you to prove what a true martial artist is. What a joke. You have only seen the tip of the iceberg of the royal army's strength. Han Feng, don't be lazy. Get up and kill him. Yes. Han Feng stood up with mud all over his body. The rainwater washed over his body, making him more clear-headed. Hand over the head. Han Feng waved the crescent moon saber in his hand and pounced in front of Li Fan again. At the same time, he slashed down heavily with his crescent moon saber, as though he wanted to split Li Fan into two. Li Fan even kept the flying lion goddess, allowing Han Feng's blade to slash in front of him. The crescent blade parted the rainwater and was already in front of Li Fan's nose. Li Fan could even feel the coldness and sharpness of the crescent blade. But at this critical moment, Li Fan's body took advantage of the momentum to lean to the side, and Han Feng's crescent blade immediately slashed into thin air. Clang! The ground under Li Fan's feet cracked, mud and dirty water splashing up, but they were blocked by Li Fan's shield of vigor. At the same time, Li Fan placed his hands in his pockets and kicked with his left leg, landing on Han Feng's calf. Han Feng immediately lost his balance and knelt on the ground with a thud. Li Fan's leg was raised high, and that instant movement stunned Di Wuliang. This was like a divine dragon swinging its tail. Guillotine. This was one of Li Fan's dragon fighting techniques. The dragon's body was a weapon, and their tails could also be used in battle. And after transforming into a human, they could also use their legs as tails to execute this move. But the original dragon fighting technique had been modified by Li Fan. This steel tail was also renamed as guillotine by him. Li Fan's leg was like a divine dragon's dancing tail, instantly melting the rainwater and landing on Han Feng's head. Han Feng had the dragon chip to strengthen him, and his reaction was extremely fast. He immediately raised his hands and raised his crescent moon saber. The hilt of this Huaxia divine weapon blocked Li Fan's kick. The saber hilt let out a mournful cry, and with a kacha sound, under Han Feng's horrified gaze, it actually broke into two. Bang! This kick caused blood to splatter, and Li Fan's heel landed squarely on Han Feng's face. Pooh! Han Feng's head exploded from the kick. He held onto the two broken saber hilts with both hands as he laid in the puddle, becoming a headless corpse. Your saber technique is not even comparable to a piece of skin on old Guan's leg. Li Fan did not hold back and mocked him. The corner of Feng Xiao's mouth twitched. All right, next. Li Fan beckoned with his finger. Seems like this little tyrant is not trash after all. He has some foundation. Feng Xiao waved his hand. Su Chu, Zhang Biao, the two of you go. The remaining two horse rank officers, one wielded a spear, and the other wielded two sabers. One on the left and one on the right. They pincer attacked Li Fan for both sides. The two of them ran very quickly, creating a pu-pu-pu rhythm in the rain. They were so fast that even the splashes of water could not be seen. In the blink of an eye, they had arrived at the side of Li Fan. Su Chu wielded a spear in his hand and aimed it at Li Fan's neck. With a pu sound, the spear pierced through the curtain of rain and headed straight for Li Fan's neck before anyone else. Li Fan tilted his head and dodged this spear. The tip of the spear almost grazed his neck as it pierced out, creating a pa sound in the air. At the same time, Li Fan's scalp turned numb. The two sabers were already at the top of his head. Under Zhang Biao's control, it was as though they were going to split Li Fan into 3 pieces. However, Li Fan raised his leg and accurately kicked the body of Su Chu's spear. This great spear was immediately kicked up by Li Fan and hit the two sabers above his head, causing Zhang Biao's sabers to bounce off. Although it looked extremely dangerous, Di Wuyang knew in his heart that Li Fan was only toying with these two people. He was skillful and at ease, and he still had strength to spare. Looking at the two horse-rank officers, they were already panting slightly. It was obvious that they were panicking and did not know what to do. They were finished. Di Wuyang could already tell that these two people were dead for sure. Su Chu's rhythm was already messed up. Whether it was the Chinese divine weapon or his comrade, Zhang Biao, none of them could save him. Li Fan took advantage of the situation and turned his leg. With another steel tail move, his leg was like an executioner's machete, directly kicking Su Chu's head away. His body weakly took 2 steps forward, and with a pu tong sound, he also laid down in the muddy water. Di Wuyang shivered. This Li Fan's leg was even more powerful than a guillotine. With his comrade dead, the remaining Zhang Biao was also panicking. He held his sabers and crazily slashed around, his mouth letting out a pig's roar. It was as ugly as one could imagine. And Li Fan had purposely revealed an opening to lure him into the trap. Zhang Biao rushed forward and directly fell into Li Fan's trap. He was hit in the stomach by his knee. Pooh! Zhang Biao spat out a mouthful of blood, which blended with the rainwater. His body was stiff and his eyes turned black. He actually stopped there, unable to move. Li Fan followed up with a kick to the guillotine, once again sending his head flying, sending him to meet his comrade. Seeing Li Fan effortlessly reap the lives of 3 of his comrade, Feng Xiao was finally moved. Chapter 1183. He held the bronze mace and waved his hand, breaking through the surrounding air and directly smashing towards Li Fan's head. If this mace hit its mark, Li Fan's head would probably be smashed like a watermelon in an instant. However, Li Fan was not an ordinary person. His hands were still in his pockets. He slid back slightly and dodged the bronze mace. The mace almost brushed past the tip of Li Fan's nose. With a hum in the air, the rainwater was split to two sides. Bang! Li Fan kicked Feng Xiao's chin. Feng Xiao reacted quickly. He stretched out his other hand and blocked his chin. He felt a huge force surging up and kicking Feng Xiao, sending him flying and hanging in the air. Li Fan stretched out his right hand and mobilized his essence qi. The rainwater quickly condensed in his palm and formed a sparkling water sword. He aimed at Feng Xiao, who was still hanging in the air, and shot the water sword out. Feng Xiao quickly waved the bronze mace again and smashed the water sword. The water splashed onto his face. Feng Xiao squinted his eyes in discomfort. But at this moment, Li Fan had already jumped high, and at the same time his foot landed. Guillotine. Feng Xiao's eyes had not fully opened, but with his many years of combat experience, he could still feel the terrifying danger. Feng Xiao almost subconsciously pushed. The bronze mace in his hand swept out, bringing with it a wave of air that pushed his body back half a meter. And this time he was saved. Li Fan's foot scraped the ground, creating a hole in the ground. Muddy water splattered everywhere. Feng Xiao fell to the side. His forehead was covered in cold sweat or rainwater. He seemed to be in a state of shock. His mouth was full of arrogant words just now, but now he couldn't say a single word. Di Wuyong hid to the side. He was still calculating in his heart. This time, he was definitely going to lose, unless he used his cousin's medicine to help Feng Xiao. However, if he used it, Feng Xiao would probably take all the credit. At that time, he would not benefit. But if he didn't use it, Feng Xiao would probably be defeated very quickly. In that case, the entire escort team could only rely on themselves. But with their own strength, Li Fan probably didn't care at all. Di Wuyong glanced around and saw a great spear thrown to the side. It was a bright silver spear with red fur tied to it. It was stuck in the mud, but it still exuded a terrifying aura of a king. It was a Chinese godly weapon that Su Chu had used. Now that Su Chu was dead, this godly spear had temporarily lost its owner. Di Wuyong hesitated for a long time, rubbing the poison in his hand. In the end, he decided not to help. Feng Xiao was a selfish bastard. There was no use in helping him. He had to rely on himself in order to get promoted and make a fortune. Di Wuyong had already made up his mind, so he stood quietly to the side and watched the show. Feng Xiao was clearly on his last legs. He stood where he was and let the rain wash over him. He didn't even dare to attack Li Fan. Even if you increase your strength and obtain divine artifacts, you are still weak. Li Fan began to ridicule Feng Xiao. My martial skills were tempered by thousands of times. This kind of gap in experience is not something that you can make up for no matter how many weapons you have. With that, Li Fan began to circulate the essence in his body. Because he had once again cultivated the 7 heroes' force, the 8 stars in Li Fan's body lit up again. The 9th star was still waiting for him to light up. But even if Li Fan was a lot stronger now, the 9th star was still dim. He didn't know when it would light up. Li Fan also thought of this problem. He calculated that in order to light up the 9th star, he would need to at least have the strength of a saint. The 9th star of the 7 heroes' force, Li Fan really wanted to try how heaven-defying this level of strength was. Quickly retreat. Feng Xiao had already lost his fighting spirit. Right now, protecting himself was the way of the king. If you don't hand over Imperial Consort Zhou, then stay here. Li Fan didn't plan to let this guy run away. He lifted his foot and kicked the SUV beside him, causing the car to skid and block Feng Xiao's path. Feng Xiao waved his bronze mace and directly split the car in half. And Li Fan followed like a shadow, passing through the rain and instantly arrived behind Feng Xiao. Feng Xiao felt the killing intent behind him. He quickly turned around, holding the bronze mace with both hands. He used total annihilation. But Li Fan lowered his body and dodged his sweep. At the same time, Li Fan used a sweeping kick, causing Feng Xiao to stagger forward. Feng Xiao, who had already lost his balance, seemed to have been sentenced to death. Li Fan followed up with a knee strike, kicking Feng Xiao's lower abdomen. Feng Xiao spat out a mouthful of acid, but Li Fan used guillotine again, going straight for Feng Xiao's head. Go to hell. When a person is on the verge of death, they can burst out with extraordinary potential. Feng Xiao naturally knew the power of Li Fan's kick. The dragon microchip in his body was operating at high capacity. The power flowed along his nerves all the way to his skin. On Feng Xiao's skin, a golden red light was reflected. His entire body seemed to be about to split into pieces. His body was covered with golden light scars. Li Fan's heart jumped wildly. He seemed to be able to feel the powerful energy contained in Feng Xiao's body. Li Fan didn't dare to be negligent. He retracted his leg, changed from guillotine to a faster flat kick, kicking Feng Xiao's body away. Boom! Feng Xiao's body reached the peak of power, directly exploding in the air. The surrounding rainwater evaporated. The powerful flames and heat engulfed everything in the surroundings. This was just the beginning. Not only did Feng Xiao protect himself, he also detonated the bronze mace. The bronze mace turned into countless bronze fragments in the air, like a nail bomb. The fragments bounced around, piercing through the bodies of several of his fellow Imperial guards. For a moment, screams rang out, blood mixed with the rainwater, and the air was filled with a fishy smell. Li Fan landed on the ground. He was the first to bear the brunt of the impact, so naturally he was also affected. There were more than 10 bronze fragments stuck in front of him. Li Fan roused his vitality, rushing into his flesh, shaking off the fragments that were stuck in his body. Blood flowed out. Li Fan used his vitality to seal the blood vessels, to prevent excessive blood loss. The remaining Imperial guards had long lost their will to fight, all of them trembling in the rain. Mr. Li, there might be some misunderstanding between us. Di Wuliang respectfully bowed to Li Fan. We will release Imperial Consort Zhou now. This way, please. Li Fan looked at him a few more times. Releasing Imperial Consort Zhou was more important now. Li Fan didn't want this Imperial Consort to suffer too much. He opened the large iron door of the escort carriage. There was an Imperial guard standing inside, suddenly spitting out black smoke at Li Fan. Li Fan was eager to save people, neglecting to guard. Although he sealed his nostrils with true energy in time, he still accidentally inhaled a bit of the black smoke. In almost an instant, Li Fan's eyes began to turn black. His ears faintly heard Di Wuliang's smug sneer. Chapter 1184. Li Fan fell into darkness, and he could not see anything around him. He instantly bounced back into his own world of consciousness. At this moment, in his world of consciousness, only the flying lion goddess was still standing there quietly. The quiet heart lake around him was like a painting. The starry sky above his head was slowly rotating. Among them, 8 stars were the brightest, and one was still very dim. It was unknown when it would release its light. And in the next second, the originally quiet sea of consciousness suddenly surged violently, and standing in it, the flying lion goddess suddenly opened her eyes, and in the next second, she disappeared from his world of consciousness. Li Fan seemed to understand that he must have inhaled poison just now, and his 5 senses were sealed. The current him could not hear, see, or even feel the touch of his skin. He could only quietly stay in this world of consciousness, waiting for his immune system to clean up the poison. During this period, he could only rely on his flying lion goddess. At the same time, in the real world, Di Wuliang was even more depressed. He had finally seized this opportunity to subdue Li Fan. The poisonous mist was indeed effective. Li Fan stood there, motionless like a statue. But before Di Wuliang could do anything, a goddess of war wearing golden armor descended in front of everyone with a beam of golden light. She waved the holy sword in her hand and directly cut a royal guard in front of her in half. Blood and intestines flew everywhere. Di Wuliang, who was used to seeing big scenes, actually felt a little disgusted at this moment. Go. She is only a guardian. She does not have any intelligence. Di Wuliang could not give up just like that. Surround her. Kill her. A few royal guards stepped forward, but they were killed by the flying lion goddess's sword. The flying lion goddess's armor was stained with red blood, and she seemed to be even more ferocious. For a moment, No one could get within a meter of her. Upper hook. Di Wuliang maintained his calm and gave the second order. The grappling claw troops at the side immediately stepped forward and threw out more than 10 grappling claws, hooking onto her body. These claw troops pulled on the chains and locked the flying lion goddess in place, making her unable to move. As they approached Li Fan, the flying lion goddess shook her right hand, and the holy sword transformed into a golden rifle. She then fired at the royal guards that were approaching Li Fan. The bullets were completely made up of yuan qi. With each shot, the heads of all the royal guards near Li Fan exploded. Di Wuliang's brows were about to turn into crescents. Motherfucker, this is too much. They were all tied up, but they could still launch long-range attacks. Li Fan was indeed worthy of being the little overlord who mingled in Jianghu in the past. He was indeed very difficult to deal with. Lock her hands. Di Wuliang ordered again. Although he was carrying the divine spear of Huaxia, he did not dare to approach the flying lion goddess. He continued to order. In the increasingly cold rain, 2 more royal guards threw out their claws and hooked onto the right hand of the flying lion goddess, restraining her attack and preventing her from firing. The winged lion goddess alone almost held back the rest of the royal guards. But no matter what, the terrifying goddess of war was finally restrained. Di Wuliang heaved a sigh of relief. He carried the silver spear and walked towards Li Fan step by step. A meteoric rise was within reach. Di Wuliang's eyes became brighter and brighter. The spear in his hand also became tighter and tighter. But at this time, a man destroyed his beautiful dream. The devil sex Lu Zhu appeared out of nowhere. He took out a blowpipe and blew at Li Fan, who was beside him. From the blowpipe, white smoke was blown out and sucked into Li Fan's nose. Everyone retreat. The moment Lu Zhu appeared, Di Wuliang's heart tightened. He understood that the situation was hopeless. His intelligence went online, and he immediately gave the order to retreat, saving himself. Di Wuliang picked up all the Huaxia divine weapons, turned around, and ran. In the blink of an eye, he rushed into the nearby forest. The few Imperial guards did not manage to escape in time and were killed by Li Fan after he opened his eyes. Their heads were smashed one by one with a kick. The rain washed the ground, washing the blood into the nearby ditch. There were only a few cars parked on the side of the road. There was not a single royal guard alive. You're really quick-witted. Li Fan rejoiced as he looked at Lu Zhu next to him. If not for you, I'm afraid I would be miserable. That's why I said you need me. Lu Zhu was a little proud. Later, I will stay in your dojo for a while. You teach me martial arts. I will train your IQ. Li Fan glared at Lu Zhu. This kid actually dared to tease him. What I said is true. You think about it. I don't have any problem with you staying. Li Fan walked into the car, where Imperial concubine Zhou was imprisoned, and said, but you can't have any problem with my IQ. Lu Zhu, who was standing behind, covered her mouth and chuckled. In the military car, there was a sealed metal can. Li Fan stood in front of the capsule-shaped can, looking at the large number of CNC panels on it, lost in thought. Lu Zhu walked to his side, stretched out her hand, and pressed a few buttons on the CNC panel. The CNC panel was retracted, the metal can popped out a white mist, and slowly opened. What did you just say? What happened to your IQ? Lu Zhu looked at Li Fan with a smile. Humph. Li Fan coldly snorted, waved his hand, dispersing the white mist in front of him. Imperial concubine Zhou stood there. Her hands and feet were locked with iron chains. Her eyes were open, but her eyes were empty, as if her soul had left the world. This is Song Fuya's neurotoxin. Lu Zhu was also a member of the devil cult, so she understood this poison is very terrible. It can block people's 5 senses. Fortunately, it can only be ingested through the respiratory tract. As long as you hold your breath, you can block it. With that, Lu Zhu took out her blowpipe and blew it at Imperial concubine Zhou. Imperial concubine Zhou's body slightly trembled. In the next few seconds, her eyes slowly recovered. At the same time, she directly raised her palm and slapped Lu Zhu in front of her. Li Fan also sent out his palm, slapping Imperial concubine Zhou's palm. A powerful suction force pulled Li Fan's elemental chi toward Imperial Concubine Zhou's body. But Li Fan also pulled his elemental chi, not letting Imperial Concubine Zhou succeed. Imperial Concubine Zhou was in a trance for a moment. Then she understood. "It's you?" She retracted her palm and heaved a sigh of relief. "Why did you come so late?" "Don't make trouble. I'm still in a daze, okay?" Li Fan complained. This person, you were silently taken away. If it weren't for Lu Zhu, I'm afraid you would have died of old age. This consort won't die so easily." Imperial Concubine Zhou coldly snorted. "Heavens was on this consort's side. Otherwise, you wouldn't appear here. In short, it's good that you're fine." Li Fan finally revealed a smile. "Let's go home." Chapter 1185. The Royal Guards and Li Fan's 7 Heroes sect could be considered to have officially started. However, these matters could only be fought in the dark. When it came to the light, both sides still had to get along. After all, they had the government backing them, so there was no way to completely fall out. Sima residence. Sima Hui slapped Di Wuliang to the ground. "Damn it, a bunch of trash." Sima Hui cursed. "What's the use of raising you? You can't even catch one person." Di Wuliang knelt on the ground, covering his face, not daring to say a word. He was a smart person, and he knew that Sima Hui wanted to vent his anger, not listen to his explanation. The person was already lost, and there was no use in explaining. It would only add fuel to the fire. As long as the 7 Heroes sect exists, my position will not be stable. Sima Hui sat back down on his chair. He was still panting, and it was obvious that his anger had not subsided. "There's also that girl Murong Ying, obstructing me at every turn. She really doesn't know when to stop. Sir, why don't we make use of this?" Di Wuliang finally found an opportunity to speak. Sima Hui's eyes flashed with an ominous glint. He lowered his head, looking at his subordinate who was kneeling in front of him. Di Wuliang had just been promoted to a vehicle-level cadre, and the badge on his chest was wiped clean. However, this small cadre, how could he be so confident in front of him? "Do you have the right to speak here?" Sima Hui sneered. "I think you're tired of living." The 2 guards at the side directly pulled out their swords. Di Wuliang broke out in cold sweat, but he was gambling. This was his only chance. "However, I'm interested to hear what kind of good ideas you have. If you can't, then don't keep your tongue. Accompanying a ruler is like accompanying a tiger. The ancients did not deceive me." Di Wuliang sighed. Sima Hui was too dangerous, but wealth came from danger. As far as I know, that Li Fan has a little girl called Murong AI in his hands. As everyone knows, Murong loves women. I don't believe that he doesn't want to find his daughter. That old man is a daughter lover. Sima Hui curled his lips. A good and ambitious man, but because of his daughter, he ran away from home and became dispirited. To think that I treated him as a character in the past. He's nothing more than this. No matter what, his martial arts and background are still a force. Di Wuliang had already grasped the opportunity. Without any hesitation, he immediately suggested, as long as we create an opportunity to let Murong Bone know that his daughter isn't living a good life, at that time, he will fight with Li Fan to the death. When Sima Hui heard this, his eyes, which had always been hiding a sharp edge, could not help but light up. What this kid said seemed to make sense. "What do you plan to do?" "Sir, please allow me to speak." Sima Hui was silent for a moment, then waved his hand. "Come here. Like this, like this." Di Wuliang stepped forward and whispered. Sima Hui nodded repeatedly. "All right, we'll do as you say. This time, don't make any mistakes. Otherwise, I'll see you with my head." Yes. The Imperial Guards were weaving a big net for the 7 Chivalry sect, waiting to capture them. At this time, Li Fan had also returned to the dojo and continued to be the dojo master. When he had nothing to do, he would practice martial arts, teach apprentices, and occasionally enjoy the feeling of being the king and 2 queens. However, after the kidnapping of Imperial Concubine Zhou, Li Fan had also become more cautious. He had installed an emergency wristband on everyone in the dojo. As long as they encountered danger, they would immediately send a message to Li Fan. This way, Li Fan would be able to help them at the first instance. No matter what, the priority was to protect everyone's safety. This way, Li Fan could do his own things without any scruples. However, he did not stay idle for a few days. Soon, General Rand's people came to find him. "Hello, Major Li." A soldier stood in front of Li Fan and saluted him. "This is the content of your mission. Please take a look." He handed over a document to Li Fan. At this time, Li Fan had just woken up, and his hair was still slightly messy. Jiang Yu was standing behind Li Fan, tidying up Li Fan's hair. Li Fan glanced at the soldier in front of him, and then opened the document in his hand. It was written in handwriting, and it was written by General Rand. "This guy, why did he assign me a mission out of nowhere?" Li Fan glanced at it. The higher-ups had assigned Li Fan to go to Song Town. It was said that there was a monster there, and the entire town was missing. "Monster?" Li Fan frowned slightly. "In broad daylight. Where did the monster come from? There are all kinds of strange things in the world." Dragoness stretched herself and walked out of the room. This girl only wore a little bare pajamas. That lowly short body was very lethal to people of the uncle level. The little girl had her hair tied up in 2 buns, looking exquisite and cute. Her chubby little face still had a lazy, sleepy look on it. "Not rubbing today? Game maintenance." Dragon Girl tiptoed, stretched her neck, and glanced at the document in Li Fan's hand. Occasionally carrying out a mission from the higher-ups is also the responsibility of the Shangfang sword. Dragon Girl reminded Li Fan. "Didn't they say that the Shangfang sword is only under the leadership of the top? Whether to do it or not, the choice is up to you." Dragon Girl reminded Li Fan. "Whether to be a guardian of China or a free man who does whatever he wants, it is up to you." "All right, then I will make a trip." Li Fan thought for a moment and ordered the soldier. "When I leave, let General Rand send 12 heavenly generals to protect my dojo." Hey. The 12 heavenly generals are the guardians of China, not your personal bodyguards." Dragon Girl scolded Li Fan. "They are the bodyguards of China's guardian," Li Fan said with a smile. "As for why I let them come, I don't need to explain. I help the country, so the country should also protect the safety of my family." "All right, what you said makes sense." Dragon Girl nodded, seemingly convinced by Li Fan. "Tell the general to let Pig Girl come." "Pig Girl," Li Fan said. "They are both lowless. Is it really okay to call her that? She is one of the top experts among the 12 heavenly generals. With her here, you can rest assured." "That's good. As long as I don't have any worries, it will be fine." "Then let's set off immediately." "Why are you in such a hurry? Didn't you see the document just now? It says it's urgent." "Then why weren't you in a hurry just now? A man must be steady." Dragon Girl was rendered speechless by Li Fan's words. After Li Fan gave some instructions in the dojo, he took Dragon Girl and set off. Having the government as a backer is indeed different. Li Fan directly took a military helicopter and arrived at Songzhan town in less than a day. Chapter 1186. Songzhan town was located in the southeast of the motherland. It was not very big. The people here were fierce and unruly. In the past, people said that Songzhan town had beautiful scenery and was a good place to travel. For a period of time, many tourists came to Songzhan town to sightsee. They were happy and carefree. However, these days did not last long. Soon, the townspeople of Songzhan town discovered that these foreign tourists were all overflowing with wealth. Therefore, other than tourism, the townspeople also developed a new sideline, robbery. 6 out of 10 tourists who came to Songzhan town would be robbed. As time passed, no one dared to come to Songzhan town anymore. It was originally a famous tourist city, but it suddenly became empty. The economic conditions also plummeted. As a result, because of the poverty, the people of Songzhan town robbed foreigners even more happily. Before the national crackdown, they were the most violent. They even set up roadblocks on the highways and collected tolls from passing drivers. If they did not pay, they would smash cars and beat people. There were even a few deaths. Later, the entire country cracked down on evil forces. Songzhan town was directly named by the central government. They even set up a special Songshan Town crime-fighting office to punish the crimes of Songshan Town. It took 3 whole years of fighting to clear out such barren lands and unruly rivers. However, Songshan Town also suffered a disastrous decline and became dilapidated. Many local young people walked out of the town to seek survival outside. On the other hand, the ancestors that remained in the town were lazy and lived day by day. When Li Fan arrived, Songshan Town was lush with greenery. The cold of early spring could not be seen at all. Green grass covered the mountains and surrounded an ancient city at the foot of the mountain. The ancient city was quiet. There was no sign of life, as if it was still asleep. Li Fan and Dragon Lady stood above the valley and looked down at Songshan Town, which had become one with nature. Then, they looked at each other. It's like a ghost town. There should be some people in Songshan Town. Dragon Lady had a unique ability. She could sense the aura of people in the city at the foot of the mountain. About 100 or so people. You can even sense that. Of course. Don't look down on us, Dragon Lady. Dragon Lady stood under the sun, stepped on the green grass, and stretched. The sunlight sprinkled on her white and tender skin, reflecting a touch of red on her snow-white skin. It was really attractive. Such a pure little beauty was indeed rare. The air here seems pretty good. As soon as the Dragon Lady finished speaking, she suddenly frowned. No, there's something strange here. She sniffed. It smells so bad. Maybe there really are monsters. What do monsters look like? Li Fan felt a little strange. He had never seen a monster before. The human heart is divided into good and evil. Good gives birth to immortals. Evil gives birth to demons. Dragon Girl said tirelessly. There were too many evils. Over time, fiends appeared. Monsters feed on humans, and it might be the reason why more and more people are going missing here. I heard that a squad of soldiers who were sent there before went missing. They haven't appeared yet. Li Fan rubbed his chin and looked down. Is this demonic creature that powerful? It's up to you humans to decide whether demons are powerful or not. Dragon Lady winked at Li Fan. Come on, let's quickly settle the matter here so that we can go back and eat something delicious. You only know how to eat. Let's go down. Li Fan and Dragon Lady walked on the path, using Qinggong, all the way to the foot of the mountain. As an ancient town with a long history, Songtown was indeed very beautiful. It was said that in the past, there was a fugitive emperor who lived in this ancient city for a period of time. The reason why this ancient city was repaired so well was also related to this emperor. Entering the ancient city, a ray of sunlight penetrated through the dense leaves and landed on Li Fan's body. It was somewhat warm. This place is not bad. Li Fan looked at the streets and alleys of the ancient city and felt somewhat happy. In this ancient city, it was as if he was completely relaxed. Here, he could not see the hustle and bustle of the city and the heavy feeling of the reinforced concrete. This place is quite good. In the future, we can find a place like this to retreat into the mountains. Dragon Lady said, if you follow me to practice martial arts, your lifespan will be longer than ordinary people. When you reach a certain age, it would be more comfortable to live here. How long can I live? Li Fan was a little curious. It's not a problem to live to more than 150 years old, Dragon Lady complained. In the past, the Shangfang sword could at least live for more than 200 years. However, the pollution in the city is too serious now, so the lifespan will be shortened. It's quite long. What a pity. It would be good if humans could live forever. If humans could live forever, would there still be a place for other living beings? Dragon Lady asked without any trace of politeness. Don't think that our dragon race is very powerful. Weren't we almost exterminated by you humans? If the human lifespan was unlimited, I'm afraid that humans would be the only living beings left in this world. That seems to make sense. Well, I still hope to live longer. As Li Fan spoke, he walked into the ancient town. The ground under his feet was paved with bluestone bricks. It seemed that it had just rained. The ground was slightly damp and slippery. The ancient city was deathly silent. There was only the chirping of birds, as if they were the only ones playing in the city. Every household in the ancient city had their doors tightly shut. Li Fan and Dragon Lady could only wander around the streets. The ancient city was not very big. If they were to walk on foot, they would be able to walk around it in 3 to 4 hours. Around the ancient city, there were broken city walls. It was unknown how many years it had not been repaired. Li Fan looked left and right. There were a few rats running around on the city walls. It was as if they treated the city as their territory and were completely unafraid of outsiders. It seems like there really isn't anyone here. Li Fan asked, "Didn't you say that you sensed some people? Where are they?" "How would I know?" Dragon Lady curled her lips. "I'm not a radar." "Didn't you sense it?" "I can only sense a general direction. I don't know the exact location." Dragon Lady pointed to the south. "They should be in that direction. Let's go take a look." Just as Li Fan took a few steps, he was blocked by a row of wooden fences. The direction to the south city seemed to have been sealed, not allowing outsiders to pass. "Is it okay if I kick you?" "Hurry up." Dragon Lady was especially impatient. Li Fan laughed. Just as he was about to lift his foot, a figure walked out from the wooden fences and berated him. "You're not allowed to pass here." Li Fan was a little surprised. There was someone here? He raised his head and saw a woman with delicate features standing there. She wore a black cloak and held a candle in her hand. She looked at him with an unfriendly gaze. Chapter 1187. Get out. The woman frowned. A trace of anger could be seen in between her beautiful brows. "This is not a place you should be." "Woman, let us in." Dragoness immediately ordered the woman above her. "Dream on. Get lost. You are not welcome here." The woman scolded again. "Go back to your place. Looks like I can only break the door." Li Fan placed one hand on the wooden fence door. As long as he used his elemental chi, the door would be smashed into pieces. But the woman above picked up a stone and threw it at Li Fan. Li Fan extended his hand and slapped the stone away. The woman did not give up. She did not know how many stones she had hoarded, but she kept throwing them at Li Fan. Dragoness was unmoved. After all, Li Fan was here. Li Fan's hand could not withstand it. He used his crane hand and kept slapping the falling stones away. With Li Fan's strength, these stones could not hurt him at all. The woman seemed to be anxious. She did not know how to chase Li Fan away. At this moment, a man's scolding came from behind the fence door. "Lua Lua, what are you doing?" The woman's body trembled as she looked down in fear. Her body was trembling slightly, as though she was afraid, and her hand that was holding the stone loosened. For some reason, Li Fan actually felt pity for this woman who had evil intentions. "Open the door." The wooden fence door slowly opened, and a few men in black robes stood behind it. The leader looked to be in his 40s, with a crew cut and thick earlobes. He looked like a Methriel Buddha as he smiled kindly at Li Fan. "My two friends, welcome to Songtown. I'm a mayor here. My name is Huji." "Mayor who?" Li Fan briefly explained his purpose of coming, but he did not mention that he was an imperial sword, only that he was a secret agent. "Aya, so, is a secret agent comrade. You're finally here." Mayor who seemed to be a little excited. He stepped forward and grabbed Li Fan's hand, looking at him as if he was looking at a family member. "You don't know, but our town has suffered a disaster." "Mayor who, don't worry. Speak slowly." He looked at the mayor, who seemed to be very emotional. When he spoke, his throat and his body were trembling. Li Fan didn't know what could make a strong man in his 40s so afraid. "Special Agent Comrade, we've been haunted by monsters recently." Mayor who greeted everyone and led Li Fan and the others into the gate. At the same time, he kept telling them about his experiences. "I'm not afraid of you laughing at me, but I used to be the mayor of Li Wei City's Gong community. I've been working hard for the district for more than 10 years, and I've never dealt with my personal problems. Later, the organization sent me to Songshan Town and made me the mayor of this place. Speaking of Songshan Town, I was a bit afraid. The people of Songtown were known for their swift and fierce customs. I'm a little scared to be the mayor here." Mayor who led Li Fan to the place where they lived. Along the way, he started to talk. But since it was the organization's arrangement, I couldn't refuse, so I came. When I came here, I found that it was not as powerful as the rumors said. Maybe it's because we've been isolated for too long that the people here have become simple and honest. Mayor Hu pointed at the townspeople around him and continued to tell his story. When I came here, it was difficult to adapt to the backward life here at first. But as time went by, I fell in love with this place. The organization also introduced someone to me. It was Luo, whom you saw just now. Although she has a bad temper, she is not a bad person. Li Fan looked back. The woman who had driven them away before was silently following the group. She covered her head with a cloak and did not say a word. She just walked slowly. Noticing Li Fan's gaze, she raised her head and glanced at Li Fan. She gritted her teeth and seemed to hate Li Fan and the others. I think she's pretty. Didn't you agree? Li Fan could not help but ask. This Luo, Mayor Hu sighed and lowered his voice. The organization didn't figure it out. She was married, huh? So you dislike her? Not really. She didn't divorce, but her husband was paralyzed in bed all year round. I heard that he was no different from a vegetable. Everyone in the town thought that she was a widow. Every night, there were men who wanted to sneak into her house, but she forced them away with scissors. Although Luo is a weak woman, she has a strong character. I can see that. Well, that's not true. This Luo is still young. I'm already in my 40s. I'm more like her father. How can I care about those things? I've been in this town for a long time. Other than some men occasionally getting drunk and arguing, nothing major happened. Until one day, when Mayor Hu said this, he suddenly stopped. Yo, we've arrived at the town hall. Let's go in and take a rest. In front of them was an old building. It was a crooked 2-story building. No one knew how many years it had been in a dilapidated state. It was converted into the town hall. The sign of the town hall was placed against the wall. It was covered with dust. 2 comrades, please have a seat. The conditions here are a bit crude. It can't be compared to a big city. Please forgive me. Mayor Hu led the 2 into the town hall. It was damp and moldy inside. No one knew how this Mayor Hu managed to survive. He let Li Fan and the others sit on the sofa. Li Fan felt a damp feeling and quickly stood up. Dragon Girl also stood up. She seemed to be very uncomfortable. Since entering the door, Dragon Girl had been frowning. She probably really did not like the environment here. She was regarded as a guest of honor in China. When had she ever received such treatment? Luo, go and prepare tea for the 2 guests. Mayor Hu ordered Luo to go and fetch tea. Then he said to Li Fan with a smile, Our wild tea is not bad. It has a special taste. Try it. By the way, why are you all wearing black robes? Li Fan couldn't help but interrupt and ask. It's a kind of protection. Mayor Hu crossed his fingers and constantly twisted them. He seemed to be dispelling the uneasiness in his heart. Listen to me and you'll know. Please continue. Li Fan nodded. Mayor Hu looked at the sky outside the window and continued to talk about his own matters. I've been working here for 3 months. It's been safe and sound. But in the 4th month, something strange happened. Mayor Hu's face seemed to be a bit ugly. Songshan Town has a total of 162 families and 540 people. But in just 1 month, more than 100 people went missing. There are less than 400 people left. Chapter 1188. Mayor Hu's face became more and more unsightly. Then, disappearances became a nightmare for Songshan Town. Every day, people went missing. Every day, people disappeared. I have been investigating, but I couldn't find the cause of the missing people. All the policemen in the town had disappeared, and no one was listening to me. Later, I could only organize the remaining people to guard this place. Although I don't know if it's true or not, there's an old rumor in the town that there is a monster living in the Rock Dragon Cave. This monster will come out every 1,000 years to eat people, and only return to the cave after eating 999 people. There's such a saying? You believe it? Li Fan looked at Mayor Hu in front of him. As a member of the organization, he should be an atheist. Looking at his current appearance, Li Fan really can't associate him with a mayor. He was probably the first mayor to live such a fearful and aggrieved life. No matter what, for the time being, let's believe it. Mayor Hu showed a helpless expression. I heard that the monster is blind. As long as you wear black clothes, it won't see. In the past, when Songsan Town was still being developed as a tourist attraction, the Rock Dragon Cave was also a tourist attraction. When the tour guide brought the tourists in, they also asked them to change into black clothes. The townspeople repeatedly suggested to me, so we all changed into this black robe. The remaining more than 100 townspeople also sealed the town, hoping to turn this only place into a fortress to prevent the monster from entering. "Why don't you leave Songsan Town?" Li Fan asked. "As long as we leave here, won't the problem be solved?" For many of the people here, Songsan Town is their home. Mayor Hu explained, "Especially me. How should I explain it to the organization? There's a monster here, so we have to move the townspeople? Agent Comrade, I also suffer. It's not easy to be a mayor. Didn't we send a squad of scouts before? What happened to them? These scout warriors did make a trip here before. Then they didn't listen to our advice and directly went to the Rock Dragon Cave. After that, they never came back. Most likely they were eaten by the monster." Dragon Girl muttered, "Since they woke up, they still need to eat." What does this mean?" Hearing this, Mayor Hu's hair stood on end, and he hurriedly asked, "It's fine, just ignore her." Li Fan patted Dragoness lightly, indicating that she should not speak carelessly. "Are you sure that monster is hiding in the Stone Dragon Cave?" "I think so. Some of the townsfolk have seen a monster nearby. I heard that it was a monster with 2 heads, and it was terrifying 2-headed monsters. Do you have any impression of them?" Li Fan asked Dragon Lady. "Oh, why are you asking me now?" Dragoness turned her head away proudly. "I don't want to tell you. 6 boxes of chips." Back in our time, there was a type of 2-headed wolf demon that was savage in nature. "I see." Li Fan continued to look at Mayor Hu. "How about this? Let's go to the Stone Dragon Cave to have a look. After the investigation, I will tell you the results." "Heavens, you two, don't go to the Stone Dragon Cave. It's too dangerous." Mayor Hu hurriedly stopped them. "The 2 of you are only here for an investigation, right? Are there any other troops coming? If you want to go to the Stone Dragon Cave, you need tanks and cannons at least. With Song Town's terrain, tanks and cannons can't enter at all." Li Fan reminded Mayor Hu, "Don't be afraid. We are both professionals. Leave the problem here to us." "It seems that you are determined to go." Mayor Hu sighed. "How about this? It's getting late. You guys can leave tomorrow. Rest here for the night. There is still some food in town. Let's not talk about others, but Song Town's Beggar's Chicken is the best. Try it tonight. Then let's leave tomorrow." When Dragoness said this, her saliva began to drip. Li Fan silently thought, "This girl is too disappointing. Just a beggar's chicken can bribe her." Mayor Hu looked at Dragoness a few more times and found that Li Fan seemed to want to listen to this little girl's opinion. Could it be that this inconspicuous little girl was some kind of important person? "All right, I will first arrange a place for you 2 comrades to rest." Mayor Hu arranged for people to tidy up a small house and arranged it for Li Fan and Dragoness. The house is a bit dark. It is unknown how long it has been since someone lived here. There is not a bit of vitality in the house. This house must have someone to live in. No matter how old the house is, as long as someone lives in it, it will be lively. And if there is no one living here for a long time, you will feel a chill the moment you enter. This house is like this. It has a kind of gloomy feeling, making people feel very uncomfortable. "I like this ancient town, but I don't like this house." Dragoness sighed. "It's too damp." "Is it just damp?" "That's right. We dragons like to enjoy life." Dragoness emphasized, "It is best to sleep on a bed made of gold. That is the most comfortable." "Comfortable, my ass. Gold is soft. Those are all gold-plated, okay. In any case, it is comfortable." Dragoness stretched her back. "Let's not talk anymore. I'm going to sleep first. Call me when it's time to eat chicken tonight." With that said, Dragoness lay down in the clean hanging basket, curled up into a ball, and fell asleep. Li Fan shrugged his shoulders. He also sat on a mat by the side and began to meditate. Essence Chi gathered at the position of his dantian and slowly revolved. Li Fan's strength still needed more tempering. His Essence Chi is still in the early stages and is not stable. This mat is slightly damp, but Li Fan used his Essence Chi to dry it, and it became much better. While meditating, Li Fan seemed to be able to sense everything around him. His essence chi perception range has also increased by a lot. As long as he focused, the movements of the surrounding grass and trees would not be able to escape Li Fan's perception. The sky gradually turned dark, and the surroundings were very quiet. Only the chirping of cicadas and birds could be heard. This primitive feeling of returning to nature made Li Fan relax, and the speed at which his essence chi grew also increased a lot. There are no shortcuts to practicing martial arts. Reaching the heavens in a single step is a pipe dream. Cultivating step by step is the best way to practice martial arts. The essence chi in Li Fan's body steadily increased. The surrounding cicadas chirping gradually stopped, and what replaced it was the concerto of frogs croaking. It was originally a pleasant sound of nature, but there was a hint of disharmony in it. Li Fan opened his eyes and glanced towards the balcony. He slowly stood up and stood in front of the window, looking at the ancient city under the moonlight. The remaining residents seemed to sleep very early at night, or rather, they did not like to light their lamps. It was only 6 o'clock, but the ancient city was already pitch black. Under the moonlight, it exuded a certain oppressive feeling. Chapter 1189. He had promised to call in for dinner in the evening, but there was no news from Mayor Hu. The surroundings were quiet. The ancient city seemed to be dead, and no one was awake. Li Fan heard some faint movements downstairs. He went down to the first floor. The originally dim chandelier on the first floor had been extinguished. Li Fan's eyes were dark, but he quickly adapted. The surrounding objects slowly appeared in front of Li Fan. In this dilapidated small house, there was only a sofa and an old wooden coffee table in the living room on the first floor. The floor of the living room was originally made of wood, but it was almost rotten. If one stepped on it, one would be afraid of sinking into it. Li Fan glanced at the sofa and found a person in a black cloak sitting on it. From the rhythm of the other party's breathing, Li Fan could tell that it was a woman. The other party suddenly jumped up from the sofa. She seemed to have adapted to the darkness. She looked at Li Fan's position and rushed over. She rushed into Li Fan's arms and was held by Li Fan with his right hand. The woman's fragrance drifted into Li Fan's nose, making Li Fan feel extremely good. This smell, it's Luo Luo. Li Fan's left hand pressed down on Luo's wrist to prevent the sharp knife she was holding from stabbing into his lower abdomen. Beauty, isn't it a little too exciting to find me so late at night? Li Fan's voice rang in her ear. Get out of this town. The beauty growled. She seemed to be really angry. She desperately tried to pull her hand out of Li Fan's control, but Li Fan was so strong that no matter how she struggled, she could not escape from Li Fan's palm. She went crazy and used the weapon that women were best at, teeth. Luo Luo bit Li Fan's wrist, trying to make him let go of her hand. Li Fan was worried that Luo's teeth would be broken, so he deliberately withdrew a part of his shield of vigor. His wrist was bitten until it bled, and a faint fishy smell wafted through the air. Luo Luo was still biting on tightly, refusing to let go. Comrade Special Agent. At this moment, the light from the fire shone in and shone on Li Fan and the others. Mayor Hu stood outside with a few black-robed men beside him. All of their faces were lowered, looking somewhat gloomy. Luo Luo, stop messing around. Mayor Hu ordered, and two burly men immediately stepped forward and dragged Luo Luo away. Luo Luo exerted a shocking amount of strength, but she was still biting down on Li Fan's hand, as if she was going to bite off a piece of flesh. Luo Luo was forcibly taken away, and Mayor Hu stood in front of Li Fan with an apologetic expression. There was some regret in his eyes, as if he was blaming himself for Luo Luo's behavior. I'm really sorry, Comrade Agent. Because of her husband, Luo Luo had always been mentally unstable. She doesn't mean any harm. She just doesn't like outsiders. Please don't be angry. It's nothing, just a small injury. The injury on Li Fan's wrist had already begun to heal, but there was a slight itch. Dinner has already been prepared in the government cafeteria. Comrade Agent, you must have been waiting for a long time. Let's go. Okay, I'll go wake up my colleagues. Li Fan said. This time, Dragon Lady could finally be a little happier. The two of them followed Mayor Hu and the others as they walked through the small town. However, Dragon Lady was still muttering. We still have to go to the government cafeteria to eat. It seems that the economy here is so backward that they don't even have a restaurant. All right, it's good enough that we can eat a mouthful of hot rice. Li Fan reminded Dragon Lady with a voice transmission. Be careful. I keep feeling that something is strange. Strange? What's strange? Dragon Lady's voice directly sounded in Li Fan's mind. This was the magical use of mental strength. I can't tell, but it's a little strange. Li Fan had a bad feeling about this, but he trusted his intuition. All right, my beggar's chicken is still more important. Dragon Lady was a complete foodie. As long as she could eat, everything else could be left behind. The government cafeteria was still shabby, and it was filled with food. However, the food in Songzhan town was relatively simple. Roasted potatoes, roasted sweet potatoes, and roasted eggplants were placed on the table in large plates. However, in the middle of the table, there was a beggar's chicken wrapped in mud, which attracted Dragon Lady's attention. The others didn't seem to be qualified to sit at the table, so Mayor Hu invited Li Fan and the others to sit down. Beside him, a girl in a black cloak poured wine for them. Come, have a taste. This is the snake wine I brew myself. It's very nourishing. Mayor Hu invited them with great hospitality, but Dragon Lady ignored his persuasion and directly smashed the dried mud with her palm, revealing the tender and crispy chicken inside. For a moment, the fragrance assailed their nostrils. Li Fan was too embarrassed to refuse. He also picked up the wine cup, and the smell of wine assaulted his nostrils. This medicinal wine wasn't something that could be casually drunk. As the saying goes, if one's body was weak, drinking medicinal wine casually would easily cause a nosebleed. However, Li Fan was proficient in essence qi, so he could convert this tonic wine into energy. Let me tell the two of you, that stone dragon cave is very strange. Mayor Hu drank while talking to Li Fan endlessly. It seemed that he was a little drunk. Once he started talking, he couldn't stop himself. I'm an atheist, but now I also feel that the stone dragon cave is haunted. Otherwise, why would the people in this town disappear for no reason? Don't think about it. I'm here to solve this problem for you. Wait until tomorrow. The truth will naturally be revealed. Then this cup of wine, just treat it as a farewell for you, comrade. Mayor Hu picked up the wine cup again. Come, let's drink together. Dragon Lady spat out the last piece of chicken bone. This chicken was probably not even enough to fill the gap between her teeth. Since the mayor wants us to drink, let's drink. Li Fan advised. All right. Dragon Lady didn't refuse Li Fan's request. She picked up the wine cup and drank in one gulp. Good. Two comrades are really straightforward. Mayor Hu drank a cup, then took out a pistol from his waist and slapped it on the table. I'll personally accompany you. I want to see what the hell is in that stone dragon cave. Mayor, this is not safe. Someone next to him advised. What's not safe about it? Mayor Hu didn't care. The police chief is also missing. Now, I'm the police chief. If that's the case, Mayor Hu can follow us. Li Fan also didn't refuse. But when we get there, just listen to our arrangements. All right, I and the lives of more than 100 people in this town. I'll leave it to you. Mayor Hu's face was flushed, seemingly a little excited, as if he hadn't been this happy for a long time. Two special agent comrades. When do you think we should leave? Then let's go now. Mayor Hu, please. Chapter 1190. Mayor Hu, together with two townspeople, holding a torch, led Li Fan and the dragon girl along the path, climbed up a hill, and soon arrived in front of a dark cave. Li Fan felt a gust of cold wind coming from the cave. The torch was shaken by the wind, and the flame seemed to be extinguished at any moment. Mayor Hu held the pistol and pointed it at the cave. Two comrades, that monster is hiding in this cave. It is said that drinking boosts courage. The usually calm Mayor Hu now looks quite heroic, as if he is ready to die. Mayor Hu, are you sure you want to go in with us? Li Fan is not afraid. No matter what kind of monster it is, with his strong internal force, he is not afraid of not being able to defeat it. But if there is a strong opponent, it will make him a little excited. Li Fan is a standard martial artist, and he likes to challenge experts for fun. Let's fight it out with them today. Mayor, who exhaled the smell of alcohol and angrily shouted, "If this goes on, I won't be able to be the mayor anymore. If that's the case, I might as well fight it out with them." Li Fan looked at the Type 54 pistol in Mayor Hu's hand to boost his courage. He has already put down the safety, and the muzzle is pointing to the ground. "Okay, then Mayor Hu, don't get separated from us." As Li Fan spoke, he had already taken the lead and entered the cave. The cave is dark. Mayor Hu, with a pistol in one hand and a torch in the other, followed Li Fan. The Dragon Girl and Li Fan are almost inseparable. She is also holding a roasted sweet potato in her hand, eating while following behind. Li Fan feels that this girl is not here to do a task, but to travel. This place is quite beautiful. With the light of the torch, the surrounding stone forest can be seen everywhere. The jagged rocks were colorful, as if they had entered another world. This kind of beautiful cave, coupled with an ancient city, is indeed attracting tourists. No wonder there used to be so many tourists in Songtown. It is indeed beautiful. It's beautiful. Mayor Hu looked at the beautiful scenery here, and his eyes are somewhat blurred. This was the place where the mayor of this town changed his life. This place is simply a gift from the heavens, bestowed upon the townspeople of Songzhan Town. It's a pity that they didn't cherish it and wasted the heavens' good intentions. So many years have passed. Haven't they become more obedient? Li Fan asked. Obedient? Mayor Hu seemed to be taking advantage of the alcohol and began to speak his mind. Most of the young people have left Songtown. The ones that remain here are just some orphans and widows, as well as some lazy fellows. These lazy fellows don't do proper work. Every day, they just rob and barge. Do you know Luo Luo? Do you know how her husband became paralyzed? He was beaten up by those people. Let's not talk about the others. When I first arrived, I was still in bed. They pulled me out of bed, stripped me naked, and hung me in the square for an entire day. Li Fan frowned. Are the local police not going to do anything? Oh, the local police chief is from the same family as them. He turns a blind eye to what they do. Didn't you report it to the higher-ups? I did, but they only told me that Songtown is nationalized and difficult to manage. They asked me to be patient and deal with it slowly. In other words, the higher-ups have given up on Songtown. Li Fan heard the reason. Not only Songtown, they even gave up on me. Mayor Hu smiled bitterly. I just figured out why I was transferred to this barren place when I was doing a good job. When I was in the district, I offended some people because I wanted to crack down on the illegal cars in the district. You've seen the result. So, what are you trying to say? Li Fan looked at Mayor Hu in front of him. The light from the fire and the stone in the cave reflected on his face, making his expression particularly twisted and ferocious. So, someone has to come out and punish these people. Mayor Hu swept the torch to the side, and a dark cave behind him was illuminated. Li Fan looked inside. There were many corpses hanging in this cave. Some of them were even wearing police uniforms. Obviously, they were the police of this town. Their expressions were extremely twisted when they died, as if they were terrified at the moment of death. Their bodies were dripping with blood. Some were missing arms, some were missing legs. All of them looked miserable, and the Dragon Girl was calmly eating sweet potatoes at the side, as if the stench and the disgusting scene had nothing to do with her. These people, although their souls are stinky, their flesh is fragrant. Mayor Hu's smile became more and more twisted. Li Fan's elemental energy was slowly rising. Actually, I'm still quite worried. Before, that silly girl Luo Luo always wanted to drive you guys away, probably because she was afraid that I would eat you guys. She doesn't understand me, and I'm so good to her. You really have a heavy taste. The Dragon Girl finally complained. Human flesh tastes so bad, but human flesh can prolong life. Mayor Hu's eyes were full of excitement. You guys have heard my experience. I was transferred here to be the mayor 30 years ago. At that time, I was 50 years old. But first, I'm 80 years old now, but look at me. I'm only 40 years old, right? Human flesh can indeed prolong life, but ordinary eating methods are useless. The dragon girl was very familiar with these things. You are the magical beast of this town. Magical beast? No, no, no. I'm an immortal. Mayor Hu laughed. That monkey's son, before Zhu Beiji became a Buddha, didn't he eat human flesh? All right, you two are guests from afar, right? If I use something like beggar's chicken to entertain you, I'm afraid you'll say that I'm not a good host. I'm very generous. All right, look at this guy. Mayor Hu grabbed the corpse of the policeman beside him. He's the police chief here. He's been dead for 20 years. The uglier the person, the more fragrant the meat. So, I've kept him until now, and I'm not even willing to eat him. All right, don't worry. This cave has a special composition. The corpses placed here, even after 100 years, are still vivid and lifelike, and their flesh doesn't rot. So, back then, the emperor came here because he wanted this place to be his imperial mausoleum. Mayor Hu seemed a little excited. He gesticulated with his hands and feet on the police chief's corpse. This is the thigh meat. It's the chewiest. This is the buttocks. The rear buttocks are soft. It's the most suitable for frying. All right, this is the most tender meat, the neck meat. The meat here is the essence of the whole body, dipped in salt and eaten raw. It's the best. The two of you, look, which one do you want to eat? Chapter 1191. Eating meat was indeed a field of study. Li Fan looked at Mayor Hu with an indescribable disgust in his heart. I didn't expect Mayor Hu to have such a deep understanding of eating meat. You are indeed hospitable to your guests, but unfortunately, we don't eat human flesh. Yeah, human flesh is too unpalatable. Dragon Girl curled her lips. That's why your taste is too heavy. I can't stand you. You've also eaten human flesh? Mayor Hu sniffed and said, No, I just smelled it. You don't smell like a human. What are you? You don't deserve to know. Dragon Girl sneered. A low-level demonic beast like you only deserves to die of laziness here. Okay, I won't quarrel with you. I'm a civilized person. Anyway, both of you are my dinner. I need to think about how to eat you. You may be mistaken. With a smile on his face, Li Fan put his hands in his pockets and said slowly, You may be looking down on us. You're looking down on me. Mayor Hu licked his lips. No one has come to this town for a long time. Do you think these townspeople are still human? Mayor Hu blew the whistle, and the originally quiet cave was suddenly flooded in one after another. These townspeople were all wearing black cloaks and holding torches in their hands. The light from the torches shone on their faces, reflecting their twisted expressions. The human flesh in the cave was not enough to eat. Only by replenishing fresh human flesh could they continue to live. You have nowhere to run. Be obedient and become our food. With that, these people raised their torches and surrounded Li Fan and the others. Kill them. Mayor Hu pointed at Li Fan and the others. The townspeople behind him immediately rushed over. Each of them was holding iron rods or kitchen knives. Each of them looked ferocious and full of desire, as if they couldn't wait to bite off Li Fan and the others' necks. With his hands still in his pockets, Li Fan turned around and kicked the townspeople's head. These are no longer humans, right? Li Fan stood there with one leg raised in midair and said with a smile, Then I won't stand on ceremony. He turned around and kept kicking. The guillotine was activated, and the heads of the townsfolk around him were sent flying. The power of the guillotine made even the royal guards tremble, let alone the demonized townspeople. In the blink of an eye, at least 7 or 8 townsfolk around Li Fan had their heads blown off. But the weird thing was that the decapitated townspeople didn't vomit blood. They just fell to the ground without moving at all. Has he completely lost his humanity? The dragoness sighed. How pitiful. What joy is there in living like this? Mayor Hu looked at the headless townspeople who were kicked to the ground and frowned. Who are you people? A problem solver. Li Fan continued to kick people's heads and replied casually, Didn't you invite us here to solve the problem? Mayor Hu, I just hope to send some food. Mayor Hu let out a low roar. There's not enough food to eat. Last time, a group of soldiers ate it all. We need fresh food. I still have half a sweet potato. Do you want to eat it? The dragoness handed over the half-sweet potato in her hand. Bastard! You guys drank my medicinal wine. Why are you fine? Mayor, who couldn't understand. Your knockout drug is nothing compared to Song Fuya's poison. Li Fan smiled. Impossible. Even an elephant can be knocked out. How should I say this? Both of us are a little stronger than an elephant. Nonsense. How can an elephant, that cute little animal, be compared to me? The dragoness suddenly swallowed her saliva. By the way, I want to eat elephant meat, especially the elephant trunk. It will be delicious when it's done. You're as perverted as this mayor who. Humph, I've just eaten a little more. The dragoness said as she reached out her hand and pushed away a townspeople who was near her. That townspeople was like being hit by a cannonball. His body flew out for dozens of meters and smashed into a stone wall behind him. His bones were broken into pieces. Damn it, you monsters! Mayor who raised his pistol. It was a Type 54 pistol from the early years. It should have belonged to the chief of police. He aimed at Li Fan and continuously pulled the trigger. Bang, bang, bang. The bullets hit the surrounding walls, causing rubble to fly everywhere, and the ricocheting bullets knocked down the townspeople nearby. You still need to practice your marksmanship. Li Fan winked at Mayor Hu. Damn it. Mayor Hu calmed himself down, held the pistol, and carefully aimed at Li Fan. Bang. He fired again, and the gunshot echoed in the cave. Li Fan raised his foot and directly kicked the bullet away. The bullet drew a golden trail and bounced on the nearby stalactite, shattering a hanging stalactite. Impossible. You monster. It's not appropriate for you to say that. Li Fan laughed. He kept kicking, and his body seemed to leave after images, kicking down more than a dozen townspeople in a row. Guillotine. With this move, Li Fan continued to harvest other people's lives. Hurry up, I want to go back to eat. The dragoness urged. Got it. Although Li Fan said so, he stood in place. He stretched out his right hand and gathered his primordial chi, and the surrounding rubble immediately gathered toward his palm. These rubble were crushed and then kneaded together. Soon, it condensed into a palm-sized stone sword. This stone sword was glowing with a gray luster, which made Mayor Hu shudder. Puff! The stone sword suddenly left his hand and instantly drew a gray shadow. Almost in an instant, it pierced through the necks of several townspeople. More than 100 townspeople were all killed on the spot. Only Mayor Hu was still standing there. He. But to his surprise, Mayor Hu laughed. Have you gone crazy? Li Fan tilted his head and looked at Mayor Hu. It seems that eating too much human flesh also affects one's intelligence. Although I'm a little unhappy, I still have to thank you. Mayor Hu put down his pistol. This Songshan town, more than 100 people are too many. My food reserves are not enough for them to eat. Now that you've helped me get rid of them, it's also a good thing. I can also leave this place and go to other cities. There's more food there, and I don't need to eat fresh-keeping products, right? Unfortunately, you won't have this opportunity. As Li Fan spoke, his body flashed and suddenly appeared in front of Mayor Hu. Then he kicked his head. Mayor Hu took 2 steps back. Suddenly, dozens of black threads flew out of his neck along with his head, and then forcibly pulled his head back and reattached it. Chapter 1192. You're surprised, right? Mayor Hu straightened his head and looked at Li Fan. You can't kill me because you're just food. Use the Shang Fong sword. The dragon girl said, stretched out her hand, and a golden light appeared in her palm. The golden light gradually condensed and slowly formed a golden sword. The Shang Fong sword, the symbol of Li Fan's identity. For some reason, seeing the appearance of this sword, Mayor Hu's proud eyes retracted and subconsciously took a few steps back. There was some fear on his face, as if he was instinctively afraid of this sword. This sword was originally used to kill mythological beasts, and it also has a strong effect on magical beasts. The dragon girl explained. Thank you. Li Fan waved his hand, raised his middle finger and index finger, and pointed at Mayor Hu. Under the control of his Yuan Qi, the Shangfang sword was directly unsheathed, and with a golden light, it instantly stabbed out. Mayer, who almost subconsciously dodged, and the sword cut off one of his arms. His arm fell to the side, turning into a black sewage. It seems that your rebirth ability has failed. Li Fan winked at him. Why do you want to kill me? Mayer, who was hysterical. The organization harmed me and made me fall to this point. Shouldn't you go against the organization? There may be some black sheep in the organization, but there are also some knowledgeable people. Li Fan said very flatly, just like the recently emerged Imperial Army. Imperial concubine Zhou asked me more than once, why don't I use my identity as the Shangfang sword to completely destroy this organization? But is it enough to destroy the Imperial Army? The so-called Imperial Army is nothing more than a codename. Even if I destroy it, the internal Ra will breed other organizations like the Imperial Guards and the Red Guards, and they will become my enemy. What I want to deal with is not the Imperial Army, nor some politicians. I just want to protect everything that I cherish. He looked at the Shangfang sword in his hand. I was forced by the situation to accept this sword. The higher-ups need me, and I need them. We're just using each other. At the end of the day, I, Li Fan, am just a martial artist. I'm not a politician, much less a ruler. You should learn from me and destroy them. Destroy everything, even destroy this unfair world. Mayer Hu tempted Li Fan. You have such great power. Why don't you use it? The Shangfang sword is a guardian, not a destroyer. Li Fan answered very simply. That's where we're different. I'm a human being. I have feelings. But you're a beast. You can disregard your own family for your own sake. Hypocrite, I curse you. Mayer Hu roared. I curse you. You will destroy everything in the end. You will become the greatest demon king in this world. The person you love will die for you. Those who worship you will come for your life. In the end, Mayer Hu repeatedly cursed, but before he finished, Li Fan had already appeared behind him. At the same time, Mayer Hu's head flew into the sky. In the end, spare Luo. She didn't do anything wrong. Mayer Hu's body slowly turned into smelly black water. At that moment, Li Fan seemed to see something. His spiritual force is very strong. At the moment of his death, he saw Mayer Hu's last memory. Mayer Hu used his body to protect Luo. Behind him was a group of people throwing eggs and stones at them. Adulterous couple. Shameless. In the next scene, Mayer Hu and Luo were hung on the frame, exposed to the sun, washed by the rain, and thrown stones by the people around them. I will take you out of this town. Then came the next scene. Mayer Hu, with a stubbled face, held Luo's hand and said to her. They ran in the wilderness. Behind them was a chasing crowd. No one can escape from here. The next moment, Luo was in front of Mayer Hu, being carried by dozens of men. This is a crazy country. Only beasts survive here. Luo's eyes were pale. Mayer Hu suddenly grabbed the police chief's pistol and fired. Li Fan suddenly woke up and returned to the grotto. There was black water all around, and the stench was so strong that Dragon Girl couldn't help but cover her nose. Let's go home. And Li Fan pulled Dragon Girl, and the two of them walked out of the grotto. Outside, the sun slowly rose and sunlight sprinkled down. A beautiful woman in a black robe stood under the sunlight and looked at them. Luo. The woman slowly took off her black cloak. The sunlight sprinkled on her body, making her smile look very warm. At that moment, Li Fan felt as if he had been redeemed. Thank you for saving him. Luo's body vaporized bit by bit and dissipated in the sunlight. Only this whisper remained in his ears. What did you see before he died? Dragon Girl suddenly asked. Nothing, just an affair between a man and a woman. Li Fan looked at the sunlight and stretched. The air is so good. I really want to bring Murong Ying here to smell it, so that she can forget everything at home. What did you say? Dragon Girl looked at Li Fan in surprise. Li Fan was also a little surprised. Why did he suddenly think of Murong Ying? By the way, you should like Murong Ying, right? That's impossible. Li Fan refused to admit it. How could I like that arrogant woman? Xiao AI told me that although she wants to dominate you, she can see that you really like Murong Ying. Dragon Girl said what Murong loved. Since you like her, Why don't you go and snatch her? That way, she will hate me. Li Fan took out his phone and sent a message to his contact. The helicopter will pick us up soon. I will prepare a feast for you. Oh, what do you think? I am quite competent, right? Li Fan boasted. You can go to bed early, too. You can also save me some food expenses. After observing for so long, your character is passable. Hey, what do you mean by passable? There is something wrong with your sexual orientation. What? Li Fan's face changed. Are you kidding me? No, don't you think so? You have so many women around you, but you're the best to lose you, right? You seem to have endless topics to talk about with him. For the past few nights, you talked until late at night before going back to your room. Shawan also complained a few times, right? We were just chatting. Li Fan emphasized, don't misunderstand. He and I are really just brothers. Maybe. Dragon Girl suddenly couldn't help but laugh. What are you laughing at? I'm laughing at you for being stupid. How am I stupid? Li Fan was unhappy. At this time, the helicopter flew over their heads. Because Lu Zhu, the helicopter covered the rest of his words. Chapter 1193. Why are you looking at me like that? In the dojo, Lu Zhu is standing in front of Li Fan. He is holding the stone lock while looking at Li Fan in front of him. Li Fan is recalling the Dragon Girl's words that day. Behind him is covered by the helicopter, so Li Fan didn't hear it clearly. After that, the Dragon Girl didn't say it a second time, making Li Fan a little annoyed. Do I like you? The stone lock in Lu Zhu's hand suddenly falls down, fiercely hitting Li Fan's foot. Even with his aura shield, this made Li Fan feel pain. Fuck, are you trying to kill me? Why did you suddenly ask such a question? Lu Zhu's expression seems to be a bit panicked. He is a handsome young man, usually very calm, but today he is restless, as if he doesn't know what to do. He even averts his eyes, not daring to look directly at Li Fan. There are always people saying that our relationship is not normal, but I think it's quite normal. Li Fan is very puzzled. Aren't the two of us the most solid brotherhood? I feel that they're all fujoshi. It's definitely because both of us are handsome that they think we are a pair. TSK, 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 society's morals are deteriorating day by day. Li Fan shakes his head and sighs. Lu Zhu, however, recovered and in turn ridicules Li Fan. How are you handsome? At most, you could be considered delicate. You're obviously doubting my handsomeness. Li Fan glares at him. Look at my charm. Even a peerless beauty like Imperial Concubine Zhou was conquered by me. You are a bit arrogant, young man. Lu Zhu seems a bit unhappy when he mentioned this. Didn't she conquer you? Li Fan doesn't know how to defend himself. Damn, this question makes him feel helpless. In any case, we're just brothers, right? If you want to develop deeper, you can. Lu Zhu winks at Li Fan. Life can occasionally be a little fresh. Go away. Li Fan rolled his eyes at him. Hurry up and continue your cultivation. Your basic skills are too weak. You need to hone them. Do you understand? Yes, Master Li. Lu Zhu picked up the stone dumbbell again and continued to practice her basic skills. Li Fan sat on an armchair at the side, watching the few people practicing in front of him. Jiang Yi brought the lower-level disciples to another place to train. This was a place that belonged to the inner sect disciples. Jean Kumo was also practicing inside. She was still practicing the Mantis Fist, but it had been improved by Li Fan. The current praying Mantis Fist was more direct and ferocious, complemented by the primordial chi that Jin Hisao had raised. The might of the praying Mantis Fist was incomparable. Wang Xiaoran and the others had also become a little stronger. With her straightforward personality helping to take care of her two junior brothers, Li Fan had a lot less to worry about. He was on a whim, but it was easy for him to be a hands-off shopkeeper. Because of the Shang Fong sword, the royal guards didn't dare to make a fuss after being slapped in the face by him last time. Everyone said that the royal guards were holding him back, but in fact, it was Li Fan who had been playing hooligan with the royal guards. The entire Sima family hated Li Fan to the core, but there was nothing they could do about it. Li Fan. Dragoness pushed the door open and walked into the training room. Li Fan, what's wrong? Didn't you play League of Legends? What's there to play? Xiao AI isn't here. Did she sneak out to play? Li Fan looked at the courtyard outside. The weather is good today. It's sunny and windy. What's there to play? She hasn't been feeling well these 2 days and hasn't gone out. Not feeling well? What's wrong with her? Li Fan was a little anxious. Something happened, idiot. Dragoness rolled her eyes at Li Fan. I don't see you caring about her usually. Ahem, it's my fault. Li Fan coughed dryly. Then where could she have gone? Did she go out to buy something? We always call for express delivery when we buy things. Does Murong AI miss? The skinny guy suddenly interrupted. I saw her in the morning. Someone seemed to be looking for her, so she went out. Someone is looking for her. Li Fan frowned. Murong AI did not know anyone here. How could someone be looking for her? Could it be the work of the royal army again? Lu Zhu was smart in this aspect. He suddenly asked, if it's them, I'll tear them into pieces. Li Fan stood up. Don't be rash. It's just a hypothesis. Lu Zhu pondered for a moment. The alarm you installed didn't go off. That means Murong AI is fine now. I'll go out and take a look. Li Fan was worried. He planned to go out and look for her himself. At this moment, an angry voice came from outside. Li Fan, come out. The curses outside were like thunder, scolding unceasingly. Who was outside? So noisy. Li Xiaohu was very unhappy. He rolled up his sleeves and was ready to go out a fight. Stop. Li Fan stopped him. You can't beat the person outside. Who is it? Li Xiaohu looked strange. The patriarch of the Murong family, Murong Bo, Li Fan said, opened the door and walked into the courtyard. When Li Xiaohu and the others heard this, they were shocked. That old dog Murong actually came to the entrance of the martial arts school. You guys practice inside. Don't come out. I'll go out with Master. Li Xiaohu immediately followed. Imperial concubine Zhou was afraid that Li Fan would be at a disadvantage. She quickly followed and went out together. Murong Bo was wearing a white martial arts uniform. He stood in the courtyard of the martial arts school. His eyes were like thunder. He was staring fiercely at Li Fan. He was so angry that even his subordinates didn't dare to approach him. They could only hide far behind him. Li Fan was wearing a black and red martial arts uniform. He stood opposite of Murong Bo. Li Fan, I want to avenge my daughter. Murong Bo didn't even give Li Fan a chance to speak. In an instant, he jumped and appeared in front of Li Fan. He stretched out his hand and directly sent a flame palm toward the center of Li Fan's eyebrows. His palm was as red as fire. It was like a flame falling from the sky, falling toward Li Fan. Li Fan stood there and stretched out his right palm. A Bear King seal collided with Murong Bo's palm. Bang! The two took a step back at the same time. The ground in the courtyard collapsed. A lot of gravel flew up and floated in the air. As the two stepped back, they fell to the ground. Li Fan, go to hell. Murong Bo seemed to have taken mad dog medicine. His eyes were red and his nose was snorting. He once again chased in front of Li Fan. Both of his hands used a flame palm. He aimed at Li Fan's ears. He couldn't wait to slap Li Fan into meat paste. Li Fan frowned. As he took a step back, his heart was still puzzled. Although Murong Bo wasn't a good person, he was rarely so emotional. What's wrong with him today? Did he take too many aphrodisiacs and have nowhere to vent? This is the Seven Heroes Martial Arts School. It's not your turn to be presumptuous. Li Fan raised his elemental chi. Taking advantage of Murong Bo's gap, he directly sent a guillotine kick. Chapter 1194. What kind of experience does Murong have? Even if he is a little crazy, he can still judge the power of Li Fan's kick. He transferred the power of Star Luo Divine Art. His palm shone and directly slapped Li Fan's calf. Bang! Li Fan's calf was bounced off and Murong's palm emitted white smoke. Both of them took a step back at the same time. Both of them were shocked by each other's strength. Li Fan, today I will make you pay for my daughter's life. Murong has obviously gone mad. He stepped forward again, and the war god behind him jumped out. A palm fell from the sky and smashed towards Li Fan's head. Li Fan also released the flying lion goddess. With a bear subduing, he grabbed the war god's arm. Together with Murong, He beautifully threw them over his shoulder and directly smashed them into the courtyard behind him. Bang! The ground heavily trembled again. Murongbo was lying on the ground. His fall was not light. Although he almost has the strength of semi-sage, Li Fan's vitality is too strong to restrain true energy. He is actually evenly matched with Murong and even faintly suppressing him. Another reason is that Murong was too angry and lost his cool. Otherwise, with Murong's fighting ability, he would not be so easily knocked down by him. Give me your life. Murongbo is also not someone who can be knocked down in one strike. He flipped his body and directly jumped up. After that, the great war god grabbed a 5-meter long light sword and threw it into the air, suspending it above Li Fan's head. This familiar move, Li Fan naturally recognized it at a glance. God slaying. A bolt of lightning struck down, as thick as a bucket, heading straight for Li Fan. The sky seemed to be split open. The momentum is astonishing. Everyone present was alarmed. Even Imperial concubine Zhou frowned. Li Fan's move under Murong's display has become a bit more fierce. Golden Body. This was a move created by Li Fan himself. He used his Shield of Vigor to protect his entire body. The Shield of Vigor was strengthened by his primal chi. Furthermore, Li Fan had condensed his vital energy into something like steel, sealing himself within. This way, the enemy would not be able to attack him, and he would not be able to attack the enemy. The so-called Golden Body was to purify one's golden body and prevent all evils from invading. Li Fan had tested it before. Once he activated his golden body, even the machine guns of the Imperial Guards could do nothing to him. However, this was the first time he had to face Murong's god slaying head-on, so Li Fan was a little uncertain. But regardless of whether he wanted to or not, the lightning had already descended from the sky and instantly swallowed him. A half-meter deep crater appeared on the ground. It could be seen just how powerful the god-slaying sword was. For a moment, dust and smoke filled the air, making it impossible to see what was going on inside. Murong waved her palm, and the wind from her palm blew away the dust, revealing the figure inside. Li Fan was still standing steadily in the crater, safe and sound, without a single injury on his body. Murong's eyes widened, and Li Fan himself was a little surprised. This golden body was too useful. It could even defend against God's slaying sword. He didn't know if he could defend against a nuclear bomb. Li Fan really wanted to give it a try. This was an extremely suicidal action. Li Fan, you won't be able to survive for long. Murong roared as he raised his palms and jumped in front of Li Fan. His palms struck out continuously striking Li Fan's body. Li Fan's golden body withstood the attack of Murong's flame palm, and the golden body kept ringing. It was as if Murong was not attacking Li Fan, but a bronze bell. But even if it was a bronze bell, it should have been shattered by his palm. After fighting for a whole minute, a crack finally appeared on Li Fan's golden body. It seemed that the endurance of the golden body was limited. Once the limit was broken, Li Fan would not be able to use the golden body again for at least 5 minutes. Li Fan died. The great god of war popped out again, holding a ball of chi bead in his hand, and smashed it towards Li Fan. Generally speaking, true chi bullets were used for long-range attacks. But if it was a close-range attack, it would be difficult for the enemy to dodge. But in this way, he would also suffer the backlash of power. Murong was going crazy. He didn't care whether he was injured or not. In the blink of an eye, the true chi bullet had already torn through Li Fan's golden body. With a crisp sound, the true chi bullet landed on Li Fan's body. Umph! But the flying lion goddess behind Li Fan stretched out her hands and directly caught the true chi bullet. This true chi bullet was controlled by the flying lion goddess and floated in front of Li Fan. And the great god of war pushed the true chi bullet, trying to destroy Li Fan's defense. The two martial gods' true bodies fought for this true chi bullet. At the same time, because they had to constantly transfer power, the true chi bullet became bigger and bigger, and it became more and more difficult to control. No one around dared to intervene. Even Imperial concubine Zhou kept her hands in her sleeves and stood by the side to watch the show. No matter what Murong's character was like, his strength was very strong. These two people's fight was really too exciting. Li Fan's apprentices were also watching intently, and those apprentices were leaning on the window, watching with shining eyes. Too powerful. This is a martial grandmaster. And not far away, there was a group of Imperial Guards patrolling. When they saw that it was Li Fan and Murong fighting, they didn't go forward to stop them. They couldn't stop them. These two people's background was too strong. This was a fight between immortals. They just hoped that they wouldn't be affected. And that true chi bullet was already as big as a millstone. If this went on, I'm afraid that both of them would be injured. But Li Fan's goal was achieved. He looked at Murong and suddenly opened his mouth. Puff! A sword with lightning spewed out from his mouth and directly shot towards Murong's throat. Almost in an instant, Murong's great god of war dispersed. He stretched out his right hand and crushed the lightning sword. And the true chi bullet was also pushed by Li Fan's flying lion goddess and hit Murong's body. With a bang, Murong's body was blown away. He turned a circle in the air and finally landed on the ground in a sorry state. Murong, is this all you've got? Li Fan and Murong's martial arts were almost the same, but he relied on a variety of moves to beat Murong's back. After a few times, Murong had completely lost his patience. Li Fan, don't be complacent. Murong opened his arms, and the great god of war popped out from his back. This great god of war seemed to roar and spread out his true chi, causing the surrounding soil to fly up again. Billowing dust covered the area, wrapping their figures in it. And then Murong's palms clapped together, setting off another storm that blew away the smoke. The huge figure of the great god of war was slowly shrinking, and soon it shrank into a golden armor that was worn on his body. This was the armor of the god of war. It was completely golden and had the pattern of a swimming dragon on it. At this time, Murong was like a divine general that came down from the heavens, glaring at Li Fan, wanting to descend from the heavens. Martial god true body, second stage. This time, it was Li Fan's turn to be surprised. Chapter 1195. Murong Bo was indeed a heaven-warping genius. He had only seen Li Fan use the second stage of the martial god true body once, but he was able to do it himself. The first stage of the martial god true body was powerful and had a shocking aura. After all, the ancients believed in great strength. The martial god true body was often much larger than a human. This was the strength of a giant. Even in the Nine Truths essence technique, the larger the martial god true body was, the more powerful it was. However, Li Fan did the opposite. He compressed the martial god true body and attached it to his body. Murong Bo wore a golden armor and held a golden sword. He was like a god of war that descended from the sky to take Li Fan's life. Li Fan instantly entered the second stage of the martial god true body. He wore a full set of flying lion battle armor, making him look as mighty as a lion king. Murong Bo teleported a few times and appeared in front of Li Fan. He raised his sword, and the sword energy tore through the sky, slashing towards Li Fan's face. Li Fan leaned to the side and dodged Murong Bo's terrifying sword energy. At the same time, he clenched his left hand into a fist and punched Murong Bo's face. Lion King Fist. Li Fan's Lion King Fist was a fist technique he created by combining his own primordial chi. His fist punched out, and his primordial chi pushed the fist to explode. It was like shooting out a cannonball. Furthermore, it was so fast that it was almost invisible to the naked eye. Everyone only saw a flash of golden light before Murong Bo slid backward. He stabbed his sword into the ground and stabilized his body. However, Murong Bo was Murong Bo. He took Li Fan's Lion King Fist head-on and did not react. After he stabilized his body, he grabbed his sword with both hands and pulled it out. Then, he threw out a few golden sword energy that pressed down on Li Fan. Li Fan's Lion King Fist struck out consecutively. Golden light flickered in the air as he struck down Murong Bo's sword energy. These two people are too powerful. Wang Xiaoran watched from behind the window with a longing expression. It turned out that the battle between experts was so exciting. Today is the day you die. Murong wouldn't stop until he killed Li Fan. He roared and picked up his sword. His body instantly sped up. Murong Bo displayed his unique skill. His whole body turned into a sword light and shot towards Li Fan. Golden sparks erupted from Li Fan's body, and large scratches appeared on his armor. In an instant, Murong was already standing behind Li Fan. His sword light had almost hit its target 100% of the time, but he had also suffered from the rebound of the power. White smoke was still coming out of his Ares armor. Looks like you're really going all out. Li Fan looked at the furious Murong Bo and thought to himself that it would be a fight to the death today. Murong Bo continued to chase. He turned into a sword light again and shot towards Li Fan. Li Fan flipped and leaped 5 meters high, landing on the roof of his dojo. Murong Bo's sword light sliced through the locust tree behind Li Fan, splitting the century-old locust tree into two. Sigh, it's a pity for the big locust tree in my courtyard. Li Fan sighed, feeling very regretful. Where are you going? Murong Bo stomped his feet and used 8 steps, overtaking Cicada. He also jumped onto the roof and fought with Li Fan again. Li Fan's attacking style had always been fast and continuous attacks. Basically, he could determine the victor in 4 or 5 moves. However, it was very difficult for him to do so when facing Murong Bo. Murong Bo was a leading figure in the martial arts world. Back then, he was an existence that could beat him to a pulp. Now that he was on par with him, Li Fan was already a great fortune. If he wanted to defeat Murong Bo, apart from strength, he also needed a bit of luck. Just as the two of them were locked in battle, the 7 Heroes dojo was suddenly surrounded by the Imperial Guards. The Imperial Guards, all dressed in black suits, split into 2 rows and let Sima Hue and Di Wuliang walk in. At this time, Sima Hue was accompanied by 4 soldier-level experts. Di Wuliang had also been temporarily promoted to a horse-level cadre. There were also 8 Prime Minister-level cadre on his left and right, acting as Sima Hue's bodyguards. These people were carrying a Chinese divine weapon in their hands. They were aggressive, as if they were here to vanquish demons. You two, can you stop now? As he spoke, all the black-suited men pulled out their pistols and aimed at the 2 people on the roof. Murong Bo stopped and looked at Sima Hue coldly. Sima Hue, are you trying to rebel? It's you who's rebelling, isn't it? Sima Hue laughed. Murong Bo, as a general-level cadre, you openly violated the ban on martial arts and fought with another martial artist here. Now that the 2 of you are wanted, why don't you surrender? I'm here to report. Before Murong Bo could finish his words, Murong Bo just happened to enter the crowd. Huh? You guys, Li Fan and Murong Bo were both smart people. They had already figured out what was going on. This move of driving the tiger to chase the wolf was really awesome. Sima Hue, you're really good at scheming. Li Fan slightly narrowed his eyes. His gaze was filled with a fierce glint. Baby girl, are you okay? Murong Bo had already jumped down from the roof and walked toward his daughter. However, Murong Bo's expression darkened, and she took 2 steps back. Murong Bo's face was somewhat pale as she stopped in her tracks. Murong Bo, Li Fan, the 2 of you have been tyrannical for too long. Today, the heavens have eyes, and I finally caught the evidence of the 2 of you. You've waited for this day for a long time. Li Fan also landed and looked at Sima Hue. However, I want to know, what can you do to me? Li Fan, do you want to openly defy the law? Fishing is illegal, my friend. Li Fan crossed his arms and looked at Sima Hue with disdain. Besides, I was only sparring with Murong Bo. I didn't even use internal force. Is that not allowed? You want to quibble? We've already recorded the video. TSK, the special effects technology nowadays, is so strong. Who knows if you guys use special effects to synthesize the video? You want to use this method to falsely accuse us? Too despicable. Whether you're a scoundrel or not, you have to accept our investigation to know. Sima Hue was also an old fox. He had waited for such a long time for this opportunity. How could he let Li Fan cover it up with just a few words? The evidence is sufficient. The two of you better obediently surrender. Sima Hui said loudly. If you resist, don't blame us for being impolite. I want to see how impolite you can be. Just as Li Fan was about to speak, his phone suddenly rang. On Morongbo's side, there was also a call. The two of them had a tacit understanding at this time. No one knew who called them. Li Fan picked it up and heard that it was General Rand. Li Fan, accept the investigation for the time being. General Rand's voice came from the other end of the phone with a pleading tone. With the pressure from above, I can't handle this matter. What's the point of being an imperial sword? Li Fan sneered. I might as well quit. No, Li Fan. This time I want you to go in. There's one more thing that I want to ask of you. General Rand suddenly lowered his voice. Chapter 1196. Li Fan was taken to the Imperial Guard's prison. The Imperial Guard's prison was different from a normal prison. The prison was built on a submarine in the sea. The submarine was 1,000 meters long and 500 meters wide, like a giant beast lurking in the sea. It would only surface when prisoners came. Usually, it would sink to the bottom of the sea, hiding its traces. Li Fan couldn't help but admire Sima Hui. This man was really good at making trouble. He even deliberately built such a unique prison. According to Li Fan's thoughts, he would never be caught by the Imperial Guard and brought to such a damned place. At most, he would fight to the death. He would kill the Imperial Guard and then return to Li Family Island. However, General Rand sent a request to sneak into the Imperial Guard's prison to rescue Professor Kai. According to General Rand's information, Professor Kai was a former laboratory director of the 12 Heavenly Generals Department. He advocated the development of many high-tech technologies. But then, Dr. Kai disappeared, and his disappearance was inexplicable. Subsequently, the Imperial Guard developed the powerful dragon ship and China's divine weapon. General Rand and his staff analyzed that Professor Kai might have been taken away by the Imperial Guard. The base of the Royal Guards was under the supervision of the government. The only place that could hide Professor Kai was the dungeon that no one knew where. General Rand wanted to take this opportunity to let Li Fan break into the prison and find Professor Kai. Therefore, although he knew it was a big trap, Li Fan still had to jump into it. However, as long as he found Professor Kai and brought him back, it would probably be a major blow to the Imperial Guard. The facilities in the Celestial Prison were more modern. Each cell was independent and made of special glass. When Li Fan came in, he saw that many cells were already locked with many prisoners. Some were crazy, some were depressed, some were walking around, and some were sleeping. In this kind of dark prison cell, one's mental energy would probably have to endure an arduous test. Bang! Li Fan was pushed into the cell, and the cell door was slammed shut. This cell was surrounded by glass on all sides. There was no privacy at all. Before Li Fan came, he was forced to take a cultivation dispersing pill. However, this pill targeted at martial fighters had no effect on Li Fan. When he swallowed the pill, he used his essence to wrap it up, and when no one was paying attention, he spat it out. However, the difficult part was the handcuffs on his hands and feet. They were made of a special alloy, so it would take some effort to break them. Li Fan sat cross-legged on the bed, silently circulating the Yuan Qi in his body. As for the martial arts club, General Rand had already sent people to protect it. Li Fan was not afraid that the Imperial Guards would play any tricks. This place was very quiet, very suitable for cultivation. It was a pity that Lu Wanner and Imperial concubine Zhou were not here to accompany him. He felt that his bed was a little cold. Cough. I might have been a little too greedy for gentleness recently. It was a good opportunity for him to change his environment and adjust his mentality and emotions. Li Fan sat there cross-legged. This was the first time he felt so peaceful. He allowed his emotions to relax and maintain an ethereal state. The vital energy in his dantian also began to circulate faster. The way of cultivating vital energy was similar to the way of cultivating vital energy. They both started from the dantian and went around the 8 extraordinary meridians in the human body. However, the definition of the small and large circulation of vital energy was different from the small and large circulation of vital energy. In the past, when cultivating vital energy, the vital energy would go around 36 times in the body, which was a small circulation. 72 minor circulations were equivalent to a major circulation. Practicing a large circulation would make a significant improvement in martial arts. When it came to essence chi, one small cycle was equivalent to one revolution of the earth. In other words, a full day of practice was one revolution of the earth around the sun. A large circulation was one revolution of the earth around the sun, which was 1 year. The process of cultivating vital energy was in line with the principles of heaven and earth. It was much more advanced than the vital energy, but it was also much more difficult. The cultivation of vital energy was more difficult than the vital energy, but the benefits were also much greater. Li Fan had an attitude of taking things as they came, which was very natural and unrestrained. When the people in the other cages saw Li Fan, some sneered and some curled their lips. When they first came to this place, some would go crazy, while others pretended to be relaxed. After staying here for a period of time, they would break down. However, Li Fan did not have to rest for long before someone came outside. A man in a black tuxedo walked to the glass door of the cell. There were 2 Imperial guards in black suits beside him. The Imperial guards brought a chair for the man in the tuxedo and let him sit down. It was obvious that this man was of high status. Li Fan opened his eyes slightly and glanced at the man. The man had oily hair combed back and wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. He had a cigarette in his mouth and was sitting with his legs crossed. He was looking at Li Fan with interest, as if he was examining an interesting animal. "You're Li Fan, right?" The man looked at Li Fan and said with a smile, "Let me introduce myself. I'm the warden of this prison. My name is U2. I heard that the little tyrant of the martial arts world was locked up here, so I rushed here. I wonder if you're used to living here with me?" "It's good, but the bed is too hard." Li Fan had a smile on his face. U2 observed him for a long time, but could not tell what he was thinking. "You should improve the quality of life of the prisoners here," Li Fan suggested. "At least get a soft bed. It'll be more comfortable. Aren't you a martial artist? You should like to sleep on a hard bed. It's good for your back." Martial artists should have their own pursuits in life. Li Fan patted the hard bed. "This is a place paid for by the government. Don't tell me you're pocketing your own money. That's too much. I'm a conscientious person." U2 flipped through Li Fan's information and said, "Look, your qualifications are amazing. At such a young age, you're already a tyrant in the martial arts world. You're too kind. You're too kind." U2 closed the file and looked at Li Fan again. "In terms of rank, you're 1 rank higher than me. That's the top law enforcer in China. If you really think so, you can arrange a better room for me." "I can't do that. I'm really sorry." U2 took a puff of his cigarette. "I don't care if you're a dragon or a tiger outside. You have to lie down here." "I'm neither a dragon nor a tiger," Li Fan replied casually. "And I don't lie down. I can stand and lie down when I want." After saying that, Li Fan directly lay on the bed with a big H shape. His expression was very comfortable, as if he was resting. "You're indeed the little tyrant. You can still be so arrogant, even in a place like this." U2 chuckled. "But I'll let you know soon enough that this isn't a place for you to do as you please." Chapter 1197. The door to the cell opened, and 2 royal guards came in and grabbed Li Fan. Li Fan didn't resist. He wanted to see what these royal guards had up their sleeves. The 2 royal guards dragged Li Fan all the way to a small room. Although the room was small, it was made of alloy and had all sorts of tools for torture. Modern ones included electric chairs, nails, and hammers. Ancient ones included cages, wooden donkeys, and ropes. There were even a few foreign ones, like a stool made of knives and iron virgins. It was a dazzling sight, sending chills down one's spine. Li Fan looked as if he was in his own house, his face expressionless, as if these tools were just toys. The 2 Imperial guards pressed Li Fan down and locked him on the electric chair. Li Fan, what do you think? Isn't this place nice? The warden, Yu Er, had changed into a white robe and was picking out a scalpel from the table. This is my favorite place in the entire prison. An assistant was wiping the scalpel for him when the warden suddenly raised his hand and slapped the assistant. How many times have I told you? I need music when I'm praising art. Do you understand? With that, he slapped him a few more times. The assistant covered his face in pain, but he still had to smile at the warden. He hurriedly went to the CD player next to him and played a serenade by Chopin. Yu Er's twisted expression changed, as if he was enjoying it. He was like a doctor saving the dying and healing the injured, his face full of benevolence. All right, it's our time now. Yu Er walked to Li Fan's side, smiling at him. You don't know how many Iron Men have sat on this chair. But after that, they all begged me for something. Do you know what it was? Changed to a soft bed. Yu Er almost choked to death, but he recovered quickly, his smile still plastered on his face. They begged me to kill them. Do you want to know something for me? Li Fan asked him. No, I don't want to know anything. Yu Er's reply surprised Li Fan. I'm just enjoying the pleasure of creating art on your bodies. As Yu Er spoke, he chose a scalpel that suited him. He turned around and slowly walked over to Li Fan amidst the music. He waved the scalpel in front of Li Fan, the glint of the blade piercing through his eyes. This scalpel can easily cut flesh and bones. Yu Er introduced his scalpel. Try it out. Yu Er took the scalpel and made a cut on Li Fan's arm. Normally, this saber strike would definitely split open the skin and flesh. However, blood would only flow out after a long time. But Li Fan's arm was still fine, without any injury. Yu Er frowned. He straightened Li Fan's arm and made 2 more cuts. Li Fan's arm felt like it was made of steel. Yu Er's scalpel almost curled up. Didn't you say that your scalpel can easily cut flesh and bones? Li Fan asked with a chuckle. Looks like it won't work. I'll just say that you didn't do a good job with the infrastructure, right? You've already dispersed your cultivation. Do you have bronze skin and iron bones? More or less. Li Fan replied half-truthfully. Even if the cultivation in my dantian is dispersed, the cultivation I've cultivated into my bones won't disperse. So what if I have bronze skin and iron bones? The best part is yet to come. Even if you're a zenith heavenly immortal, you'll still have to submit to me. Yu Er took out a small and exquisite remote control. Even if you can withstand the knife, you won't be able to withstand the electric chair. I'll give it a try. Li Fan's smile irritated Yu Er. It wasn't like he hadn't gnawed on tough bones before. But this time, Li Fan made him feel uncertain. Yu Er used to be a gangster in the pugilistic world. He had a nasty personality and was an opportunist. His martial arts weren't that impressive, but he was good at flattery. Later on, he met the Sima family by chance and became their guest. Yu Er was a smart man. Even though he was arrogant and domineering in the outside world, he was as obedient as a dog in front of Sima Hue. He could come up with some bad ideas, which helped Sima Hue a little. Later on, when Sima Hue wanted to renovate the Sky Prison, Yu Er was the only person close to him. Thus, he sent him here to be the prison's warden. Logically speaking, this was a boring job. After all, it would be difficult to return to the shore after coming here. But Yu Er was an exception. He enjoyed his life here, punishing the criminals sent here every day. There is nothing more delightful than watching these martial arts experts crumble under his methods. The remote control in his hand was in charge of adjusting the electricity of the chair. There were 3 levels of electricity. The first level was 220 V. If a normal person was electrocuted, they would either die or be crippled. But it was perfect for electrocuting martial artists. It would cause them pain, but it wouldn't endanger their lives. The second grade had a voltage of 500 V. That was deadly. If this strike landed on an ordinary person's body and they didn't die, they would have to be extremely lucky to not die. If a martial artist was hit, he would be half dead. The highest voltage was 1000 V. This was the last resort, used to kill. It wasn't useful if he didn't kill. Yu Er pushed it to first, wanted to make Li Fan suffer first. But when the electric current hit Li Fan, nothing happened. Li Fan was humming a little tune, happily following the rhythm of the serenade. Can you change it to something with a stronger beat? Let's go with the most dazzling ethnic style. Dazzling my ass. You air immediately pushed it to second level. 500 V was enough to take away half your life. A purple glow appeared in Li Fan's eyes. The electricity was definitely working, but Li Fan still maintained a relaxed expression and said, "No, it's not enough. Again. Do you think your son Wukong?" Even though the higher-ups had given orders not to kill Li Fan, it was Yu Er's first time encountering such a criminal. He hesitated, unsure if he should push to third level. If he electrocuted Li Fan to death and Si Mahue blamed him, he wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. If he electrocuted Li Fan and Si Mahue blamed him, he wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. Li Fan laughed. "You don't even dare to kill me?" Li Fan laughed. "You don't even dare to kill me?" Yu Er calmed down after hearing Li Fan's words. Yu Er quietened down after hearing Li Fan's words. "Looks like 1000 V won't be able to kill you. Or maybe you're just trying to scare me, to make me doubt myself and not dare to use third level." He turned to look at Li Fan. "That's why I want to try." Chapter 1198. Yu Er steeled his heart and pushed the remote control to third gear. In an instant, the lights in the room flickered as if a devil had descended. Li Fan's hair was trembling from the electricity like a lion king. Actually, it wasn't just his hair. If not for his clothes, his hair would be standing on end. After 10 seconds of electricity, Yu Er switched off the electric chair. He was afraid that Li Fan would die. If he really died from the electricity, he would be finished. The lights came back on, and the light shone on Li Fan's face. It was rosy and completely fine. Li Fan chuckled as he looked at the person in front of him. "I'm a little hungry. How's the food?" Yu Er was trembling with anger. Was there an end to this? Not even this. Who could withstand 1,000 volts of electricity? Was Li Fan really a monkey made of steel? Yu Er was furious and subconsciously pushed the remote to third gear. A strong electric current immediately coursed through Li Fan's body, causing Li Fan to tremble slightly. Even for Li Fan, 1,000 volts did not affect him at all. After all, he still had a human body, unlike the dragon lady, who was a fierce dragon. In the past, Li Fan had stored a portion of electricity in his body. He could freely convert electricity and true qi through exercise and cultivation. However, after Murongbo sucked it clean, the electricity was also sucked clean by him. Although Li Fan cultivated his true qi again, he did not touch the electric switch again. This time, Yu Er did not stand on ceremony and provided him with a lot of electricity. This way, the lightning palm that Li Fan had learned from the Dragon Lady was more or less enough. Seeing Li Fan's eyes light up but not making a sound, Yu Er felt apprehensive in his heart. Could it work or not? Why wasn't Li Fan making a sound? Was it painful or not? Give me a definite answer. Was this little tyrant really that stubborn? Was he really going to endure it? His guess was right. Li Fan had absorbed a lot of electricity and had really reached an upper limit. With Li Fan's current physique, it was not enough to absorb anymore. Right now, he had cultivated to the standard of an 8-star cultivator and had yet to reach the 9-star level. There was a limit to what his body could endure. If he continued to absorb electricity, he would explode and die. However, he really gritted his teeth. He could not admit defeat. If he were to admit defeat, what would happen to his reputation as the little tyrant? Damn it. Isn't it just 1,000 volts? I want to see how much I can withstand it. Li Fan began to adjust his dantian, allowing it to flow faster. The essence in his body slowly circulated, forming a small vortex that absorbed the surrounding electricity. The vortex seemed to have come to life. The stronger the electricity, the stronger the suction. When the power was slightly weaker, it would slow down. At the same time, Li Fan channeled the excess electricity through his feet into the alloy floor below. The floor was originally insulated, but Li Fan used his own essence energy to forcefully create a passageway and send the electricity away. This time, the electricity lasted for more than a minute. Li Fan was still sitting there. His face turned pale for a moment before turning red again. Yu Er was puzzled. Was something wrong? Would Leaf Fan eat electricity? Sir, if this goes on, the submarine's electricity will be overloaded, the assistant reminded him. The lights in the cabin flickered nonstop. The red warning light was already on. Even though the submarine was powered by nuclear energy, the electricity was also rated. Once it was overloaded, the submarine would definitely be in trouble. Humph. Uair switched off the switch. The lights in the cabin flickered a few times before returning to normal. The red light went off, and the strange atmosphere disappeared. Uair looked at Li Fan and gritted his teeth. This kid was simply a piece of iron plate. He couldn't be kicked or hit. Li Fan, do you think I can't do anything to you? Uair cursed inwardly. He really had to think of a way to torture this Li Fan. He had no choice but to send Li Fan back to his cell. Back in his cell, Li Fan could finally relax. This was his first battle with Uair, and Li Fan had won. But Uair wasn't going to let Li Fan off just like that. He would probably find other ways to torture him. It seemed like it was impossible to cultivate in this place. Since it's impossible, I'll just complete the mission. Li Fan stood up from the hard bed. This broken bed wasn't even comfortable to sleep on. He might as well sit on the electric chair. Li Fan walked to the door of the cell, glanced at the Imperial Guard standing outside the door, and asked him, "Friend, can I ask you something?" "Shut up," the Royal Guard scolded. "Who the fuck allowed you to speak? Do you know where this is?" The Royal Guard was overjoyed. This was the little tyrant, and now he was watching over him. No matter if he was a dragon or a tiger, he was like a grandson in front of him. "I just want to ask you something." "Fuck you." Just as the Royal Guard scolded again, Li Fan suddenly stretched out his hand. His palm directly pierced through the tempered glass, as if it was a window made of paper. Before the Royal Guard could react, Li Fan's hand was already like an iron hoop, locking this person's neck. Li Fan only stretched out 3 fingers, and it was enough to lock this person's neck so tightly that he couldn't even breathe. "Hero, I was wrong. Please spare me. I want to ask you something." "Speak, speak. This little one will tell you everything I know." This person was already terrified, and he was about to pee his pants. This was a specially tempered glass, and it was actually broken with a single palm. This little tyrant was too strong. Could it be that even the cultivation dispersing pill was useless? "Do you know of a person called Professor Kai?" As Li Fan spoke, the surrounding alarms were already ringing. This was a comprehensive prison. When Li Fan broke through the cell, he was already discovered. I really don't know." The Royal Guard legs were trembling, and he was trembling. He was quite afraid that he would die here. There was no one who wasn't afraid of death. To say that someone wasn't afraid of death was because there was something wrong with his mind. "Then you sleep for a while." Li Fan couldn't be bothered to take his life. He exerted strength in his palm and directly knocked this person out. Then he broke the glass and took off this person's clothes. After entering the prison, Li Fan's outer clothes were also taken off. Inside were all white short sleeves and shorts to ensure that they didn't have any weapons on them. Li Fan also didn't want to go out and show off in this outfit. This Royal Guard's figure was similar to his, and it was just right for him to wear. The material of this black suit was not bad. According to General Rand, it seemed to be made of special nanomaterial. Even if he wore it, he wouldn't feel constrained. The ventilation was also not bad, and the warmth was also strong. Wearing it, it was warm in winter and cool in summer. "It's not bad." In the urgent alarm, Li Fan touched the material of his suit. "Later, I will ask old Rand for a few more." As he spoke, several guards had already rushed in front of him. Chapter 1199. On this floor, there were a total of 12 guards. The leader of these 12 people was an artillery rank cadre, the only one wearing a white suit. They did not expect that someone could actually escape from prison. All of them had taken the strength-dispersing pill, so their cultivation was at most at the acme of perfection. Furthermore, Li Fan had taken more than one pill. According to the higher-ups, Li Fan was special and had eaten 9 pills in a row. After eating these 9 pills, not to mention Li Fan, even a Daluo Golden Immortal would not be able to withstand it. Who would have thought that Li Fan cultivated elemental energy? With just a small trick, he was able to neutralize the 9 heartless strength-dispersing pills. At this moment, Li Fan had changed into a black suit and looked very handsome. His valiant aura caused the guards in front of him to be startled. What a martial arts hero! Did he really disperse his cultivation? His eyes were shining and his temples were bulging. One look, and you could tell that he had the demeanor of a martial arts expert. Stop! The leader of the artillery rank cadre was also nervous. However, if he could subdue this little tyrant, his career would definitely soar. As the saying goes, people die for wealth and birds die for food. He pointed at Li Fan and cursed. Don't you know what kind of place this is? How dare you escape from prison? If you know what's good for you, quickly surrender. Otherwise, I will take your life. Li Fan smiled. He tidied up his suit and crooked his finger at the white suit cadre. Come, let's play. Go. The 11 black-suited guards obeyed the order and directly stepped forward, surrounding Li Fan in the center. The leader wanted to fight for credit and was holding a Mo Dao in his hand. This Mo Dao was 1.5 meters long, and its handle was 40 centimeters long. In front of its head was a sharp blade like a spear. It was a long-handled weapon invented in the Tang Dynasty. In the Tang Dynasty, there was a world-famous Mo Dao team with extremely strong attack power. Li Fan's own escort trained the shield sword team, which was different from the Mo Dao team. The Mo Dao team pursued attack, while the shield sword team researched both offense and defense. Not to mention the shield sword team, the Mo Dao team used the Mo Dao team as a spear. He used the Mo saber in his hand as a spear. He aimed it at Li Fan's lower abdomen and stabbed it. Stabbing the throat required skill. The throat was big and could be easily pierced. Stabbing the throat required skill. A person's throat was huge. Putting aside the fact that it was easy to miss, if the other party was agile, they could easily dodge it by tilting their head. However, he was stabbing the abdomen. The abdomen was very wide and had a high hit rate. Li Fan stretched out 2 fingers and flicked the blade of the sword. Clang! With a crisp sound, the Modeo was deflected and stabbed to the side. At the same time, Li Fan chopped the guard's neck with his palm like a knife. He showed mercy and did not kill him, only knocking him out. Li sword of Li Fan. He were of the guard of. The guard managed to escape with his life. Li Fan was in a good mood at the moment. More guards stepped forward and stabbed Li Fan's heart with their Mo swords. Li Fan placed one hand behind his back and extended 2 fingers from his other hand. He kept flicking the Mo Dao team in front of him. At the same time, he struck the guard's forehead and knocked him out. After a few hits, 6 guards were lying on the ground and would not wake up for a while. The remaining 5 guards were frightened by Li Fan. They cowered in front of the cannon-level cadre and did not dare to make any movements. The cannon-level cadre was no longer as arrogant as before. As the saying goes, when an expert makes a move, it will be obvious. Li Fan knocked down a few guards with a few moves. The demeanor of an expert was fully displayed. The cannon-level cadre pondered in his heart. This was not a competition of the same level. They were not his match at all. Come, let me ask you. Li Fan asked the cannon-level cadre. This brother slowly retreated as if he was afraid. I told you to come forward and talk. Li Fan glared and reached out his hand. This cannon-level cadre was directly sucked into his hand from a distance of more than 10 meters. Li Fan lifted the artiller-level cadre's neck into the air and questioned him directly. Let me ask you, do you know someone called Professor Kai? I don't know any Professor Kai or Professor Fan. The cannon-level cadre turned his head and said, I don't have much patience. Li Fan extended 2 fingers and tapped on the cannon-level cadre's acupuncture points. A heart-wrenching pain flowed through the cannon-level cadre's meridians. Wherever it passed, it felt like needles were drilling into it. It was so painful that the cannon-level cadre screamed, Spare me. Hero, spare me. This brother did not resist and begged for mercy. The surrounding guards did not laugh at their leader. At this moment, there was no one who was not afraid of Li Fan. This guy is too scary. To be able to suck a person into his hand from a distance of more than 10 meters, what kind of skill is this? It seems like the cultivation dispersing pill is just like candy to him. Then why don't you say it? And in the research room. Close the research room. No, not. This cannon-level cadre shook his head. Before he could finish his words, a red light suddenly flew from his side. Following that, a red dagger the length of a finger pierced his temple and took his life. Li Fan was somewhat surprised. He was too focused on his question that he did not notice the hidden weapon. However, from this, it can be seen that the person who threw the hidden weapon is also a hidden weapon expert. At least, he is much more skilled than enchanting. Li Fan threw the corpse to the side and looked at the dozens of guards that appeared in front of him. There were not many guards on this floor, only 12. The cannon-level cadre, who just died, was the person in charge of this floor. But now that something happened, all the guards came and surrounded Li Fan tightly. And the leader is a minister-level cadre. He is wearing a white suit with a black tie. Other than his clothes, this person is a typical Jianghu person. He is a man with long hair tied into a ponytail that hangs behind him. Looking at his appearance, he has cold eyebrows and starry eyes. He is handsome, but it is a pity that he is a lackey. This minister-level cadre also has a Chinese divine weapon, which is that red dagger. This guy stretches out his hand, and the red dagger is pulled out from the corpse. After shaking off the blood, it flew back to his hand. This hidden weapon skill is not bad. Li Fan praised. The other party did not reply. He flicked his hand again, and the red dagger instantly appeared in front of Li Fan. Li Fan did not hesitate. He stretched out 2 fingers and gathered his yuan qi at his fingertips. He flicked the dagger. Dang! With a crisp sound, the dagger bounced off. This dagger flew far away and was caught by the minister-level cadre. Sorry, can you make way? I have something to do. Li Fan said politely, but this minister-level cadre did not want to agree. He flicked his hand, and the hidden weapon flew over again. This time, it went straight for the throat, taking his soul. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.